Speaker.
It was. You're looking
Yes.
at him.
Yes.
What story was the motivation?
We'll get a thumbs up from Mr. Travis here. Okay, we're live, Travis? All right, welcome everybody to council meeting, March 14th, 2022. It was like we were here just yesterday, because we were here just yesterday, but this is a great day to be here too. So thank you everybody for coming in the council chambers, all the applicants, and everybody watching online. The most awkward job interview ever, right? That's what we're here for. So thank you everybody for being here. We'll start it off just like we do our other meetings with a prayer and a pledge. Councilman Euler will offer the motivational message and prayer, and Councilman Marshall will do the pledge.
Motivational message. All I'm going to say is thank you all for throwing your names in and being willing to do this. I know it's not easy, like Shane mentioned. We've been where you're at. Difficult, but thank you for being willing to serve our community. We live in a great place. And with that, I'll give the prayer. Our Father in heaven, we give thee thanks this day for the opportunity that we have to be here in this meeting. We are so grateful for these individuals who have chosen to be here today and who are willing to serve Spanish Fork. We are so grateful for the community that we live in, the opportunities that we have to serve those around us. We give thanks, Father, for the snow that we've been getting, and please continue to bless us with more. Bless us during this meeting that we can be able to listen, that those that have prepared messages can share what they've prepared, and that we can have a good experience today. And we pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Well, please rise and follow on the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Euler, Councilman Marshall. Again, a little bit of housekeeping. Again, thanks for everybody being here. But if, in case you missed it, sandwiches and drinks and chips out in the foyer there. So feel free to come and go. It might not be the best thing to eat right before you get up to the microphone and have lettuce hanging out your mouth or something. But
we won't hold that against you if that happens.
But that happens. Yeah, that happens up here.
Please do that.
So you might fit in if you do that. But no, feel free to come and go. The city offices are open, obviously, until 5 o'clock. So there will be people coming and going in the city office. So make yourselves comfortable, make yourselves at home, and have some food before and after. If any of you were here last night or watched online, you can see we had a discussion about the procedure, about the process that we're going to go through tonight. And we adjusted a little bit of that process that I'm going to ask our city attorney to speak to, Vaughn Piquel, and just make sure we know what the schedule of events will be today and what maybe some of those changes are. In plain terms, all it did was maybe give us or give the council a little bit more latitude in asking as many questions as they want to ask of you. So you've all been given some questions before this, and you'll have some time to speak to those questions. But then we'll also have questions from the council as they see fit to just get to know you better. So, Vaughn, with that.
So last night, we were trying to be a little humorous with Brandon Gordon's last meeting, so that's why there's a big question mark on his forehead. So what is required is based on the state code. There's a section on how do you fill a midterm vacancy on the city council. One thing that is required is that the city council interview each person that applied that is qualified. And so that order of interview will be based on the master ballot position list that the lieutenant governor publishes each year. So that would be the order your name would appear on a ballot if you were running for office. The questions are there, and hopefully you've all seen those and are familiar with those. What do you want us to know about you? What is your vision for the future of Spanish Fork? And then why you? What sets you apart from others who have applied? So you'll have 2 minutes for each of those. I don't know, Mayor, if you want to do strict 2-minute timers, or you want to give a 6-minute timer for all 3 questions. I think you could adjust that if you want to. Then this is the change last night, really. It was, rather than being rigid about follow-up questions, it just allows the mayor and council members to ask any, or interview any candidate for any applicant further without any limitation of time. So this is more about the process. The initial vote is really a ranking where each member of the council will identify their first place choice, their second choice, their third choice, and they'll be awarded points for each first place vote and each second and each third place vote. Those will be on the record by roll call, and then we'll tabulate on the screen the total number of points that each applicant receives. And if the goal is to identify the top 2 point getters, then they would move to the second or the final vote. If there are not top 2, a clear top 2, then we would do some intermediate tiebreaker type votes. And these are some of the options or possibilities, I should say, for tiebreakers. If we had 1 top applicant, that one would move on already to the final vote. But we would have 2 or more tied, then we would do a tiebreaker vote among those top tied applicants to get that second finalist. Another option is if there are no top applicants, we might have 3 or more tied. Then we would do a tiebreaker roll call vote among those top tied ones. I should back up. I didn't explain, what if you have 2 top tied? Those would move automatically to the top 2, because at this stage, we're just trying to find the top 2 finalists. So if we have 2 top tied point getters, they would move on and become the finalists. No need for a tiebreaker in the first vote. If we do that tiebreaker among those 3 top tied, then, and it yields only 1 clear top point getter, that person would move on, and then we would do a second tiebreaker with the remaining 2 top tied applicants. Then, once we've identified the top 2 point getters, that would move on then to the final vote, where it's a roll call vote. Each member of the council would vote for 1 choice, and that would, with the goal of identifying the 1 person that would fill the vacant seat. I should also mention that in any of these votes, except for the initial ranking, but in any of these tiebreaker type votes, the mayor can vote if there is a tie, just like he ordinarily would for any matter that there was a tie on. So there's a potential. You could have 2 and 2. The mayor could be casting the deciding vote.
Yes.
And that is it. Any questions from the council on that?
And the final, just in case, there won't,
No, it would be. It's only if we if we don't have a majority of the body. We would have a majority because the mayor could cast that vote. Only if somebody were absent, got sick or something, and we ended up with 2-2, we would use the deck of cards for random choice.
and that won't happen.
It looks like we've got 5, so that's not going to happen. But if somebody didn't show up today, then that would be what we do if we had a tie.
If I abstained to see a deck of cards happen,
I guess that could happen. You abstain. You're free to do that, and we could let chance, the most undemocratic thing, choose the person to
That'd
fill
go
that seat.
viral, I think.
that would go viral. Good point.
Ron, can you go
Ron.
back to the very first one on the questions? We talked a little bit about this second, sorry, next one.
This one?
This one. Did we decide last night that someone goes for 6 minutes and we're gonna ask them questions, we're gonna let everyone go for 6 minutes and then ask follow-up questions to
We
whomever.
didn't. We decided that at any point, at any time, you can ask a question to anyone.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Yes.
I think that's right. Yeah.
And then I just want to let everybody know that we did not make up this silly system. The state code did, so.
But we would have been exactly the same, sure, I'm sure.
No, we had much better ideas in mind, but
Oh, yeah.
State code gives you like a basic framework, but it's kind of vague, like doesn't show you how to go through the process.
yeah, but
so-
for all of you to be here
Oh, yeah, that part.
listening to each other, we would have loved to change that up, but, so.
Not to say.
You bet, you can say.
So I just want to express my total appreciation. 17 is unreal. It's exciting. Last time, I think we had 10, 11?
12.
12. Understandable, we're going to narrow that down to 1, but it just makes my heart feel good that there are 17 of you that want to take Brandon's position and carry that torch on and serve for this community. It's such a blessed community that you guys want to serve, and that's excited all of us, even though we really wanted Tara to stop it at 1, because that would have made it really easy. But we are tickled to have you here, and we're excited to hear from you. So anyway, be at ease. There are worse things than this, I guarantee you.
Maybe one just point, I'm sorry. Term, which would be all of next year until January 2024. The person that wins the election next year would be sworn in, so.
Any other questions for Vaughn?
Thank you, Vaughn.
Thanks, Vaughn. Has been through this, this will be third? Yeah. Just twice? Not, okay. So we've seen this before, you're guinea pig of this process in Spanish Fork. But yeah, I appreciate what's already been said here. We talked about this as a council about how can we make this less awkward for people. And it's obvious in a lot of decisions, it starts to seem like at a city level that sometimes the legislature says, here's the laws, here's what you got to live by. And not a lot of those legislators have been in city council and mayor positions sometimes when they're making this, because we get it, we want, just like you would want to be in the public and make these decisions in the public. We sure discussed options of, could we bring them in one at a time and everything else, and instead, the ordinance reads that we all got to do this together as one big happy family. So, anything else yeah.
I think on that, I was of the same opinion that it would be nice to have a more robust conversation with them. But we don't get to do that up here every Tuesday. We get to do this with the cameras on, with everyone watching. So that's sort of part of the whole thing.
It's part of the deal.
Yep. That's why I like that we get to ask questions at any time. That's what happens here, so.
Right.
let's see if I can do-
Great.
Good luck.
Yeah. Look, I just wanted to add
To play the citizen for a little bit.
Just wanted to add, because I have heard from a few of you in the past saying possibly that we've made up our mind before this meeting took place. I just want to assure you that is not the case. We have not met prior to this and said, let's pick so-and-so or so-and-so. The decision will be made during this meeting.
Yeah, good point. Good point there as well. Again, the decisions you get to make as whoever's selected up here is not decisions on, how to adjust a peace treaty with China or Russia or something like that, right? It's not as weighty as what Councilman Argyle alluded to, but it is weighty as far as, hey, where do we direct citizens, money? What potholes do we fix? What roads do we go after? And everything else. There are daily life decisions, as you guys well know, of this. So rest assured, that's not what's being asked here, but what is being asked is put your best foot forward, make your case to this body of how you'd fit, and not necessarily how you'd vote, right? We don't always agree up here But I think I sent out a text to each of you that said you don't have to agree up here, but certainly the respect for the office, the respect for the citizens, the respect for the home of Pride and Progress is what needs to come forward more than anything. So, okay. Anything else? Should we get underway? You ready? Yes. Okay. So, again, the randomness of this as well, that I think if you watched last night, was what is the governor's office selects a random ballot?
Yeah, they do a random ballot order every year for every election, and that's to prohibit A from always being at the top. So this is just the annual ballot order is what we use. And so if you're trying to make sense of it and you can't, they won. That was the objective.
But
It should be random.
but it was alphabetical that way, that they randomized it off the alphabet.
Correct, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So M's are unlucky. I don't know, maybe they're lucky. Going first is maybe lucky. But as far as anything, Tara, that you want to add to that?
No, that's great. It's just not done by us, it's done by the lieutenant.
Okay, perfect. So Angela Murphy, we went by your last name. You're first, and we have 6 minutes up there. You have those 3 questions, so feel free, those 2 minutes apiece, as long as you use your 6 minutes however you want.
Perfect. Do you want me to just answer them all back to back, or would you like me to pause?
No, whatever you'd like,
Okay,
yeah, however you'd
perfect.
like to do it.
All right, thank you. I just want to give a big shout out and thank you to Mayor Mendenhall, to council members Beck, Marshall, Euler, and Argyle, and a big thank you to now Commissioner Brandon Gordon. What a fabulous guy, and we are all super lucky and honored to be able to be here together tonight and share with you a little bit about why I love Spanish Fork and why I want to continue to serve. On the ballot, it shows Angela Murphy. Most people know me by Angie Murphy. I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a GG. I am a businesswoman, and I've been a business owner. I've been in the dental industry for over 25 years, where I help to manage and run several dental laboratories and dental offices, and I currently am the administrator over marketing at Utah Surgical Arts. I also love to be with my family. I love the outdoors. I am the co-host on Studio Chatter, which I have been so grateful for that opportunity to meet several members of our community along with business owners. What a fabulous place that we live in. Throughout my life, I've been able to serve in different capacities within our city. Serving with Tabitha's Way over Thanksgiving and backpack donations in my church, serving locally in different leadership positions there, which I value and care for. I've served in our school districts as PTA and also over the drill team. I was over the parent meeting and also the football booster president for the 2020 season, which I value and has made such an impact on me. Really quickly, lastly, in 2006, I was diagnosed with MS. And with that, for some people, that may come as a shock and something really hard. But to me, it was a relief because I had someone who was a pillar of hope, and that was my mother. She also carried the disease. And with that, she told me, your life is not ending. It's, in fact, starting over. And we love this quote, and it was something like this: we only have one choice in this life, and that is what to do with the time that we've been given. And with that, she gave me that pillar of hope. And so we are all in. We go with no regrets. Any dream that we may have, any hope that we may give to others, anything that we can do or serve, that's what we hope to do. And that's what I hope to do today, is to show to you why I am capable of learning and serving and doing for the people of Spanish Fork. Okay, on to the next question. What is my vision for the future of Spanish Fork? Well, I was a Provoite. I grew up in Provo, Utah. My parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and my whole husband's side of the family were born and raised there. So we found ourselves here in Spanish Fork for affordable housing when we were first married. And I told my husband, I'll give it 2 years, but for sure my children will not go to Spanish Fork High School. Well, building another home, and 27 years later, and here we are in Spanish Fork. I have had 3 of my children raised here in Spanish Fork, attend and graduate from Spanish Fork, and find their spouses, their high school sweethearts from Spanish Fork. So to say that we love and are committed to this city is maybe an understatement. So my vision, what kept us here, what brought us here? What brought us here is that there was room in the inn here in Spanish Fork. And what kept us here was that we felt welcomed, we were given opportunities, we felt needed and connected to the community. The new business growth and organizations brought diversity and opportunity that helped plant our roots deeper here for Spanish Fork. My vision for Spanish Fork is to keep providing that room in the inn, to help our community bring diversity and inclusion so that all want to gather and feel welcomed here in Spanish Fork. I've got 2 minutes and probably 3 minutes more to talk, but I'll just wrap it up really quick. So why me? Let me give you an example of why me. In 2019, I joined the Spanish Fork Booster Club because my son was playing football for Spanish Fork High School. I had served with my girls. We love to be involved and supporting our children in all that they do, so we're always all in. I served as a drill mom president with my girls when they were Los Cholitas, so I did the same for my son. I found myself at the 2020 Booster Club meeting, and at that meeting, we were without a president for the new year. I was asked and elected by the coaches and the other members that year if I would step up and be the president of the Booster Club. I went into that meeting not thinking that this would happen, but when asked, I knew that I was capable. And the reason why I knew is not because I had all the accolades or knew exactly how to run this club and organization, but I knew that I loved my son, I knew that I loved the program and the high school, and I knew that I could work hard. And then I looked around that room of individuals. They had the same passion, the same desires, just like this room today. Everyone was all in for that same thing, so that I knew that I could just lead easily. We were all going to lift together. Just a quick few more minutes. We found ourselves in a year of COVID that year, and everyone knows what that looks like. So 2 weeks into it, I was trying to figure out the program, and then I got thrown COVID. We didn't know from day to day, hour to hour, if those boys would be able to practice, if those athletes would be able to go to school, what that looked like for them. So we came together as school administrative, as the district, the coaches, the parents, and the staff, and we just decided to go all in as the best that we could for that 2020 season, and in fact, we did. Our community rallied around us. Our business leaders rallied around us. We were able to connect with so many great individuals, and just a few things that we were able to do, provide PPE. Who would have ever thought of what that looked like in years past? Oh, and I'm out of time. Okay, I just hope to be able to do the same thing that I did at the Spanish Fork Football Booster Club, which is just look around the room, see the people that you can connect with, and take that vision and that commitment and drive and honor and love for the community and go from there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Angela. Appreciate it.
Angela.
Thank you.
Wait.
Do you have questions?
I do.
Okay.
That's why I clarified before.
Yep, yep,
So get ready.
yeah, get ready.
Oh, this is, thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for that. 6 minutes was awesome. I love the vision. I want one example of how you plan on keeping room in the inn.
Room in the inn. I think that when we came down here, I thought it was Cowboyville and really empty. I don't think necessarily space means room in the inn. I think inclusion and diversity and business means room in the inn sometimes. So I think listening to our community and seeing what they value and then bringing those things in that connect people to this community, I think that's what's important. That's what brings people space in the inn.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Angela? Right now, we might have more.
Okay, I love you guys.
Thank you, appreciate you.
She says, "I love you" to everyone, so don't think that's weird.
Okay, next up, number 2, Mason Evans.
Good afternoon. I'd like to copy what Angela was saying and just say thank you to all of you guys. And I would like to start off, first of all, by addressing the elephant of the room and say that I know how young I am to actually be trying out for something like this. Young adults my age probably are worried about a lot of other stuff instead of local government. But I don't think they realize how important that really is in their lives and how much that really does impact their day-to-day. I may seem inexperienced because of my age. I don't have the experience that age brings from being older, I guess. I mean, as stated, but I've had a lot of experiences in government. I've worked with the city, with the outreach program, with Susan, and as well as moving to the county as well to help restart theirs after COVID, and then moving to the state with some other youth programs, even working on the floor of some of the special committees in the House of Representatives and working with the Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson as well. A lot of these things I've been able to achieve experiences, gain relationships, and learn skills and understand why local government like a Spanish Fork really is important. Not only the connections to local businesses, county members, but most importantly, I've been able to gain a connection to the youth of Spanish Fork from being on Outrage and as well as being on student council for over 7 years in our community as well. One thing that I've learned growing up here locally is the importance of a hard day's work, the importance of giving your 100% no matter what the job entails, even if you didn't really want to be assigned to doing that labor. The necessity behind earning here at Pillow every night when you go to bed. I have exercised that skill in many situations, like I've stated in the House of Representatives, and working in my farm down in Lake Shore, where my family has been in this area for over 150 years in the Spanish Fork area. My vision of Spanish Fork is to create a community of balancing and supporting small businesses while being able to have the ability to grow families, to be able to grow up in Spanish Fork and keeping that feeling of a small town, helping household costs so citizens my age can afford to live here in the future and we don't have to go and make millions to live back in our town where we grew up later. And as well as being able to look at this town and not comparing it to other towns for the understanding of how amazing this town really is. As well as supporting the small businesses and keeping skyscrapers and multi-billion-dollar businesses in Provo and Salt Lake so we can support the community here. Another community aspect that I've learned and hope that together we can improve greatly is looking at sharp data surveys from working on Outrage. We can actually see that these are averaged numbers, but barely 50% of students think they're getting praised for their work in school and in their communities. That 75% of students are somewhat or very worried about suicide in their schools and in their communities, which just under 60% 2 years ago in a prior survey. That's a 25% increase over 2 years. A consistent of kids are comfortable talking to kids their age. They only want to talk to kids that they go to school with, that they're in their communities with, and 49% state that they are worried about the kids their age misusing drugs and alcohol and other substance misuses like that. While working on Outrage and for the Utah County Health Department, we found one of the greatest ways to help these issues were to inform parents about guidelines and risks, helping kids to access resources to help manage their issues, but most importantly, getting them involved in their own lives. Most kids who have suicidal ideations cannot think of the future. They can't visualize it. They get focused in the now, what they're stuck in. Giving them responsibility, chances to talk with trusted adults and peers, but also giving them the chance to be themselves. We saw a huge change in the kids and seeing them being able to build these connections. My future vision in Spanish Fork is focused on the community. Kids are being exposed to things much at a younger age. The saying, children are our future, has never rang more true than it does right now. So let's give them a voice. Let's get them heard here. And we need to build a city that they can have and be a part of for the rest of their lives. I believe that my experience in years working for nonprofits, government entities, and helping build organizations is what sets me apart. I may not have the experience that age brings like previously stated, although I've always tried to take risks at chances where I know I could not only benefit a group that I was trying out for, but also that I knew and know now that I can learn so much from it and to be able to grow alongside the community I'm a part of. My age, however, does give me the ability to see things from a young person's point of view. There's a famous design challenge by Peter Skillman, used by many engineering colleges. It's called the Marshmallow Challenge. If you guys haven't heard of that, I suggest looking it up. It's an idea where you have 20 sticks of spaghetti, 1 yard of tape, 1 yard of yarn or string, and 1 marshmallow. The idea is to create a tower that is freestanding, and whoever can create the tallest tower while still supporting the marshmallow wins. They found that multi-billionaires, CEOs, and engineers were not able to even compete against kindergarten graduates. And that's because they built and they looked at things that there's not only one right way to do things, there's about 1 million different right ways to do things. And it focuses on cooperation. Spanish Fork has and always will be my home. Our family's, like I said, has been here for over 150 years, coming straight from the United Kingdoms, and I'm grateful that I can be a part of that history. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mason.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for Mason at this time?
I have one.
Okay.
Shane, did you pass that test?
No.
They made me go to engineering school because I failed it. I agree with you. I want my kids to live here too. I want them to grow up here. I want to create a sense of community. Give me an example of how you would facilitate that.
Well, I mean, I believe that we need to keep Spanish Fork, the essence of Spanish Fork, the same as it is. I mean, the river bottoms have such a huge play in the real estate in Spanish Fork, Utah, as I've learned over the past little while. And so being able to preserve that while still expanding housing in places more towards Springville or creating more affordable housing while still not giving the aspect of a big city, I think can be able to help those people, as well as supporting small businesses so people aren't traveling to Salt Lake every day for a job so that they can just afford to live here locally.
Thanks.
We don't ever talk about housing up here in city council, so, yeah, we'll bet that. Anything else for Mason at this time? Okay.
Thanks, Mason.
Thank you, Mason. Appreciate it. Okay, next up, Landon.
All right, good afternoon, council, and my name's Landon Took, and Merry Christmas. We're 11 days away from the big, exciting day, so I like the tie, and I love the spirit. Right now, I'm excited to be with you today again, and in 1993, my mother moved my younger siblings and I here to Spanish Fork to start a new life, and it was scary at first. It was a smaller town. I joined the football team, made some friends, and I quickly learned this city's special, it's unique, and I fell in love with it, and I've been committed ever since. In fact, I talked my wife into moving down here, and we've raised our 3 girls here, and we just love this city so very much. And my wife Jenny and I both work at BYU. She works in human resources. I work in counseling, advising, and also teach. Currently teaching a class right now where I'm helping college students know what to do after college and how to bridge out into life successfully. There's such a need there. So I love that. I also have a seasonal Santa Claus business, which we're in the middle of right now. So that's keeping me on my toes and exciting. I also believe I probably have purchased more of the Spanish Fork dowdle puzzles than anybody in this room. I love giving them as gifts to friends. I'm proud of Spanish Fork. I love telling everybody how amazing this city is. As I was younger in high school, I first learned to love this city and learned about the city council and city government when I was right in these chairs, in this very room, when I was on the youth city council. And that's where it started for me. The last 14 years, I was able to serve for the nonprofit Miss Utah organization. For the last 4 years on the executive board, I recently stepped down to open my calendar and schedule to hopefully serve on the city level. Spanish Fork is a big part of who I am. It's in my DNA. And I'm proud, again, to tell everybody that I'm from here. And I usually give them a puzzle when I do that. But I'm passionate about civic engagement and public service. So my vision for Spanish Fork, before I dive into that, I'd like to first thank you all for your service, your years of dedicated service on and off of council, and executing your visions, and then coming together for a joint vision to make Spanish Fork better. A couple thoughts that come to mind, the All Abilities Park. I think about the rec center / pool / senior center that is in the works. When I think about my vision, I think of a variety of words when it comes to Spanish Fork. I think about infrastructure. I think about quality of life, sustainable growth. I think about water conservation, et cetera. As I've served in the city, I've fine-tuned my vision over the years. And here's a couple examples of how. So I was in the first class of the Spanish Fork University 101 and had the most amazing experience. I felt like I really peeked behind the curtain and saw how things work in this city and how amazing they are. With the rec center committee I served on, I loved that experience so very much. And one takeaway for me was I saw how much of a need there is for a new sustainable resource for our seniors. With the Fiesta Days service, I worked with one of you to talk about ways to take an amazing program and tweak something to make it a little bit better. My vision for Spanish Fork is to keep the small town feel amid inevitable growth. I have a good pulse on the city. I am a forward thinker. I am humble. I'm a public servant. I'm a team player, and I will work with all of you to come together with a joint vision to serve our city and make it the best possible place. So what sets me apart from all of these amazing candidates today? I'm a public servant. I received my Master of Public Administration degree about 10 years ago, and that really, for me, solidified my love, passion, and drive to work with you, to work in city government, and to have a voice at the table, a seat at the table. I also ran a successful campaign last year. I have gotten involved in every way, active on social media and the city pages, on my campaign page. Proactively have been building relationships with everybody I can, especially city employees, whom I've loved getting to know. And to be honest, I've really enjoyed this journey, all of it, which again I think is just confirmation that I'm in the right place, doing the right thing. I listen to understand people. I work to find solutions. I seek to understand different points of view. And I'm a voice for Spanish Fork because I am a citizen of Spanish Fork. I am committed and invested in our community, and I stand for what I believe is best for the majority of our residents. I want you to know that I can make tough decisions, and I can also have the hard conversations with citizens when needed. I'd like to thank you all for considering me for this amazing opportunity. I know it's a tough decision. We have incredible folks here who want to serve the city, and that was what I was most excited about when I saw the list, is how many people want to get involved and want to serve and want to be here. And again, thank you for your service and for having me here today.
Thank you, Landon.
I have a quick question. You ended with how you communicate with others. How would you deal with a resident that believes you are doing everything wrong up here, whether that's in person, via email, or on Facebook? How would you react to a situation like that?
What a great question, and I know you all deal with this on a frequent basis. You know, I would listen, first of all. I mentioned it, I say it again, listening, not judging, listening, and really thinking about, okay, how can I best help and remedy this situation? To be honest, if I was new on council, I would consult with you all. Hey, how have you handled this sort of situation? Have you seen this before? How can we work together to, best help that disgruntled, upset person have the right answer, the answer they want? And so just doing the best we can do, but that's the power of the team, of the council. And so I would definitely rely on you as resources, and I would do my best to stand up for what we are doing, what's best for the city, but also try to find a happy middle ground, a happy place with that upset person. And I believe there's a way to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Landon.
You're welcome.
So quicks, right? The first of it you mentioned, talked about conservation, which is something that's on everybody's mind nowadays, especially with water. Hopefully this kind of stuff that's going on right now will continue. Maybe some of your ideas about conservation that would be a part of, you would bring that to the table?
Yeah, well, thanks, Councilman Argyle. I love the Spanish Fork for decades, and as I've talked with Seth about this, how, the Spanish Fork, the council has made good decisions to have lots of backup water, and luckily we're in a pretty good place, and with all the precipitation we're receiving now, that's helpful. But Spanish Fork has been making great decisions for a long time in regard to water conservation. Now, still, we need to be careful. We're growing, and there's a lot of people to provide water for. So, I think one idea to answer the question is, trying different PR campaigns and really, utilizing social media and Instagram and Facebook and different, there's different things you can do at different events that we have throughout the city to promote smart water usage and different strategies to do better with water. And I'll be honest, I've really been watching this last year as we've been in a drought, and I feel like what the city's been doing has actually been working fairly well as far as, getting into the heads of our residents, and I think they're being more conscientious, and I think, from the meetings I've watched, and you guys have talked about it, I think we're doing okay, but I would love to offer more ideas and suggestions of how we can, better be more mindful of our water usage, and especially as we grow.
Thanks, Landon, appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you, Chad.
I have one.
Okay?
I love this format way better than the last time, by the way. This is great. Thanks for being up here.
Yeah, thanks, Shane.
Maybe it's because I'm on this side. Maybe.
I think it's true.
I don't know, maybe. Again, thanks.
you.
So you talked about making hard decisions, and every single Tuesday, or every other Tuesday, we're up here making, at times, can be hard decisions, whether it's to wear a tie or not to wear a tie. Explain to me how you make those hard decisions. It doesn't have to be a specific one, but just what is the thought process you go through?
Yes, great question. How to make hard decisions. Again, I think team, I think togetherness. I think, obviously it's important to have our own opinions and to vote how we want, like Mayor Mendenhall said at the very beginning of the meeting. But, you guys see a lot of big things come across your desks. And so, obviously experience will play a role in that. And I think I come in with a lot of good experience, but also being informed, educated. And, I think all of us would agree that we have a ways to go as far as, really rising to your level with being able to serve at a higher capacity. I feel like we're all in a good place, but there's potential for improvement and for growth. And yeah, I'm sure there's decisions that are made, and sometimes you look back in retrospect and you're like, could have done that a little different or that. But, you just do your best. And I see you guys just doing your very best always in the betterment of Spanish Fork. And that would be my goal. That would be my priority is what can I do to, maybe we disagree a little bit, but regardless, what's the best thing for the citizens and the residents of Spanish Fork, and what's the best for the majority? Thanks, Shane.
I don't want to be left out. The
Yeah.
other three asked, so I
You
guess-
bet. Go ahead. Yeah.
Landon, you talked about maintaining and keeping the small town feel while the city continues to grow. So for yourself, for your family, what's probably the top thing that Spanish Fork currently has that you feel keeps that small town growth or small town feel?
Yes, thank you, Councilman Euler. So many things. The Winter Lights Parade, lighting of the tree, Fiesta Days, Easter egg hunt. I think about the Wings and Wills, all the events that my family loves going to. Those events really make a big difference. And we hang on to those, and we keep those enriched, wonderful experience. And then as new people move in, they learn about them, they join, they want a part in that too. And you can keep the small town feel with those events. That's one way. That's the one that comes to mind first is, and of course, supporting local businesses and Chamber of Commerce. There's different things as well that play right into that. But I really think my thoughts go right towards all the amazing, well-established events that we have in Spanish Fork that my family is passionately in love with, and we go to and support. And I see so many doing the same thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Landon.
Thank you, everybody.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Okay, takes us to number 4 on the list, Jacob Oakes.
Good afternoon. I'm a husband and father. That's first and foremost my pride and joy. My family is what motivates me to be involved. I think about my kids and the kind of future I want for them, and as well as their friends, the generation coming. I think that's what is unique about parenthood is you gain this selfless perspective about suddenly you're not just working for yourself, you're working to build a better future. I'm a very driven personality, even back to my combination of driven and innovative creativeness has gone back even when I was young. I'm a music producer, and Even when I was in high school, I got a song with lyrics published in a magazine, as well as a song on local radio. When I find something I want, or something I feel like needs to be addressed, I find out what obstacles there are to be able to achieve something, and I make it happen. My career, I've had various different roles in administrative type roles in business, everything from bookkeeping, HR, and also general management. Previous to my current position as doing administrative work for a nonprofit, Chrysalis, I had run a I had been the general manager for a commercial cleaning, window cleaning business that we grew to be the second largest window cleaning business in Utah after acquiring accounts like Thanksgiving Point and Traverse Mountain Outlets, some large accounts like that while I entered in as the general manager. And so, very visionary and like to create steps or plans to achieve that. But I also value, despite being driven and ensuring that I can grab the bull by the horns, value that unity and working with a team. I currently run a foundation called Liberty United. We hold various seminars inviting public representatives such as state legislators to speak to the community and teach certain principles, as well as educate them how to be involved and how to get their voice heard, things like that. I've got a board that I like to gather around in a room for meetings and challenge each other's ideas to ensure that we're not just stuck in a rut in our own thought. And, we value each other's insight to ensure we're finding the best foot forward. My vision for Spanish Fork, I'd like to see more jobs in Spanish Fork where people are not commuting as much outside the city. And if there's a way that we could encourage a lot of that to be in small business. I saw an article that back in the summer, Verizon had published a piece about the top 10 cities in the United States that are good for small business. 3 of those were in Utah. That was Lehigh, Mill Creek, and Logan. I see no reason if there was 3 cities from Utah in the top 10 throughout the US that Spanish Fork could be on that. And so I think it's been great that we've been able to bring in some chains like Panda Express. People always enjoy national chains. But I do want to find innovative ways that we can encourage as well as help small business thrive within Spanish Fork. What sets me apart, I'd say, is my experience both from business and also being involved politically, civically, in business. Being familiar with P&L statements, data analysis, being able to look at the profit and loss, making a plan toward that, to be able to pursue projects based on a budget, that's an important element in city planning, that you have all these needs in the city and the budget requires that you properly plan far in advance in the future. But also the political and civic involvement, I think having helped advocate in policy, I understand those 2 components working together. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jacob. Appreciate it. Any questions for Jacob?
Are you still working at this foundation that you talked about? As
Yes, that's something I just do on the side. We typically have about 3 events a year where we just invite public representatives to a seminar, and we actually find ways to try to make it a little more exciting than a formal meeting that a lot of people might not take interest in. For instance, in every May, we'll hold a large festival outdoors in a big park with bounce houses and a live band that we'll incorporate with some of that educational piece.
Thanks, Jake.
How do you feel about Spanish Fork? Not necessarily us as elected officials, but Spanish Fork as the city. What do we do well? What can we do better?
I I like that we've got currently there's still elements of the small town feel. I love southern Utah County. My family history is strong throughout Spanish Fork, and I think things there well is I feel like while there could be more incentivizing to help businesses thrive, small business, I do appreciate that there's some balance between inviting national chains and also the small business. I lived in Payson previously, and I was aware while living there that they were offered some of the chains that came here many years ago. About 10 years ago, they were offered some of those chains and turned it down because they wanted to keep the small town feel, but now they're facing struggle with the economy and not having enough jobs within Payson. So I understand that there's a key balance to play there, and I appreciate that there has been some national chains invited in. I've loved to see that growth. I just want to ensure that we protect and preserve the values that are great about South Utah County, especially Spanish Fork, while we innovate for infrastructure and growth.
Great. Thank you, Jacob. Anything else, Mr. Oakes? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Tyler, can you turn the heat up?
It's a little cold in here, Tyler. You're gonna make us all,
It was like freezing.
you're gonna make us all need to use the bathroom before. Okay. She already knows she's up. Number 5, Whitney Hancock.
So can I just say how thrilled I am that I'm not the only female applicant this time around?
Yes, that's great.
No, I'm glad that there are other females here. This is exciting. In preparation for this, I went back and I watched last June's interviews, and my daughter watched with me, and she's like, I'm writing your speech. She just joined the debate team, and she's like, I'm writing it for you. We're just gonna nail it all out and get it done. So here's what we have. Hi, my name is Whitney Hancock. My husband Brian and I have 5 children, and we just built our forever home just up here on the east side by East Meadows Elementary. I've grown up here my entire life, and I love serving and volunteering in our amazing community. I've also worked for the city. I helped pioneer SFCN 17, and I have ran the Youth Arts Festival for the past 12 years. I have a background in advertising communications with a focus on behavioral health. I've actually volunteered with a lot of different committees and things throughout the state of Utah. Currently, with the Girl Scouts of Utah, we have I'm a volunteer troop leader, and I'm over their events for all of South Utah County. I serve on 2 school community council, what would the word be, like community
Boards.
council boards for East Meadows, and then also for the Diamond Fork Middle School. I've chaired every year opposite, so I've been the community chair there, and I've helped with the Utah Down Syndrome Foundation and the United Angels Foundation, which are both foundations for kids with disabilities. I just love helping in our community, and I'm always willing to help where I'm needed. I honestly want our community to be safe and welcoming for everyone. From traffic to shopping and all of the amazing community events, I believe there is always room for growth and progress. One of my favorite quotes that I believe describes Spanish Fork City to a T is by Plato. The city is what it is because our citizens are who they are. How true is that? That we live in such an amazing community with so many amazing people that live here and volunteers. I want to help provide the best and easiest solutions to keep the city to what the citizens want. when I ran for city council in 2021, I received dozens of phone calls and texts and emails from citizens concerned about a variety of different things. And honestly, what it came down to is they were concerned about their safety and raising their family in a safe community. This is something that I highly value, and I want to listen to the people and give them a chance to feel safe in their community and bring a different and unique perspective. My vision is really just to kind of keep the balance between businesses, the citizens, and just kind of, because, you know, you bring in businesses, you bring in jobs, you bring in taxes, you bring in growth. And just to try to keep the balance so that you still do have the small town feel, but you also have the growth that's needed to keep the taxes down and to keep everything running smoothly. So that is what I have. So, do you have any questions?
Great, thank you, Whitney. Any questions for Whitney?
I've got one for you.
Yeah.
So you made the comment, or part of what you said was to keep the city to what the citizens want. So how would you, as a council member, how would you find out what the citizens want? And then along with that, how would you decide if you met with one citizen that wanted one thing and another citizen that wanted the exact opposite of that thing? How would you decide then how to make that?
So that's tough, because that was one of the questions that I was emailed running for city council, was my neighbor's yard looks terrible. I drove by and she called the police a few times wanting to have them take care of it. I drove by, there was nothing that was a safety concern. There was nothing that the police officers could do. She just didn't like it. So it was hard, it's a hard balance, because you want to help this way, but they're not doing anything wrong. And so how do you balance that? How do you guys identify with that and come out and say that? One thing that I can say is that I have a very unique perspective and I listen. With my behavioral training, I look for triggers. There's always a trigger to why something is happening. And you never know what it is. It could be because somebody looked at you wrong. This is from like school days and stuff. Like my son, he would push somebody on the playground, and it was because someone stood too close to him. But I was sitting in 5-hour IEP meetings because of these behavioral things. He was being accused of hitting or pushing, but I started asking the tougher questions, like, why did he hit? Well, they couldn't tell me. So then they had to start listing and figuring out why, and like, oh, that person was standing too close to him. So it's just kind of, you have to balance, you have to look at all the different perspectives, and you have to listen.
Thank you.
Thanks, Whitney.
Anything else for Whitney?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you, Whitney. Okay, next is Anna Keel.
Hi, my name is Anna Keel. My husband and I have 4 children here, and we live up close to Larson and Elementary. We actually bought my in-laws' house, so we've lived there for quite a while. Something that I want you guys to know about me is I love the Backstreet Boys. I've always loved the Backstreet Boys. Growing up in Argentina, it was not the norm. I cannot even tell you a single Spanish singer at that time because I was listening to the Backstreet Boys. And then my family moved here, and we moved up to Murray, and we were going, in our community, we were going to a Spanish church at that time. And I cannot tell you a single Spanish singer at that time because I love the Backstreet Boys. And then we moved to Spanish Fork. And I pretended I didn't like the Backstreet Boys for years. And that is because I just got tired of not fitting in. I didn't feel like I fit in when I was in Argentina. I didn't feel like I fit in when I was in Murray. And at the beginning, I didn't feel like I fit in here until I got to I started in middle school back when it was Spanish Fork Middle School. And then I got to junior high. And then I finally felt like I fit in. I finally felt like this city became my home. And I don't even think that my family felt that as I did. I love this city with all of my heart, enough to stand in front of the city council and proclaim my love for the Backstreet Boys in this city. I told my husband he's not moving me out of here. Before we got married, we both graduated from Spanish Fork High School. We are raising our family here. I want my children to raise their family here. I want this to be the homestead, just to be able to feel that love that I have for the city, and how much that community means to me, and how much it means to a lot of people that, like me, might not be fitting in anywhere else. My vision for the city actually stems from a couple weeks ago. I woke up and got ready for church. All 4 of my children had fevers. And my oldest is about to turn 10, and then I have an 18-month-old. So all 4 of my children had fevers. I gave them the last dose of Motrin that we had, and then I went over to the neighborhood market to get more Motrin. And I actually took a picture of it because the shelf was completely empty. So I got in my car, I drove the 5 minutes down to the super center, and I was able to get Motrin for my children that needed it. I think that there might be a lot of pushback with a lot of big businesses coming into town, but it's not just the convenience, it's the working people. I love that I live in a city where I have a choice to be able to get my children the medicine they needed, and then go get stuff laminated at J-Mart, which I do way too often, and I should really invest in a laminating machine. But I love that we do that. I feel like a lot has been said of how we keep that small town feel, and I think that that's it. It's our main street. It's the fact that our citizens are still loving the small businesses. Stone Drug hasn't gone out of business because our citizens pushed for it. We do the parades. My family goes out to every single thing because we love it. We love being part of Fiesta Days. My daughter competed in the Spanish Fork's Got Talent last year, and I did stand-up comedy on Fiesta Days Entertainment at the park, just things like that. That's what keeps our city just so wonderful. This city is truly, it's my family. It is, and if I were lucky enough to be able to have the opportunity to serve, I would serve like my family, because that's what it is. I think I said in my statement that home is where the heart is, and Spanish Fork is actually my heart. And I love being here. And I'm so thankful for the opportunity that I have to even have a chance to stand up here and talk to you guys, and to be able to serve. I don't know if you guys know Rachelene Talbot, but a couple years ago I was in a meeting with her. My daughter was in the Little Miss program, and she said that she tells her daughters, who have been Miss Spanish Fork and then Miss Utah, that when the pageant might be about them being in the pageant, but once the pageant is over, it's not about them. And that's what I believe City Council is. It's not about you guys, no offense, it's not about you. It wouldn't be about me. It's not about whoever fills that chair. It's not about that person. It's about the service that we can provide to the city. And I believe I could be a good one. I love volunteering. I love running things. I love serving in church and PTA. My kids are younger, so I'm just starting to be able to really get into the service and providing for the future. So my kids will love where they grew up, will want to stay here, as I loved where I grew up and wanted to stay here. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Appreciate that. Thank you.
So, I'm assuming then it's country western music now is your fame.
It took a while, but it is now, yes. Oh, and also the Backstreet Boys. And also my husband and I just went and saw Daddy Yankee this summer as well. So I still listen to, now I know Spanish music.
Anything else for Anna?
Yeah, so you said you want your children to stay here, and again, I I'm with you on that. Give me an example of a decision that you would make sitting up here that allowed your children to stay here.
Obviously, you guys know the housing market is just all over the place right now. And I just think having jobs here. So I think that, I don't know if I said it correctly in my vision for the city, but I want people to be able to work here, live here, play here. And that's what I think will stay here. If we're going different places, I work for a plumbing company right now that just moved out. So it's actually my neighbors, and they used to run it out of their office, but now they just opened up a shop in Springville. So I just still work over the phone, but now Springville's basically has the plumbing company. So just things like that. Just, I think keeping businesses that will keep jobs, that will generate the income, that will keep the families here, that's what we need to do.
You maybe said it, how long you live here?
I moved to Spanish Fork when I was 13, so.
So you've been here. You're
So it's
considered.
been,
Yeah.
if you want me to say the year, I
No,
can.
I don't want that. No.
Typical woman.
Yeah, I'm,
20 years.
okay.
It's 20 years.
Okay, all right. Sometimes we get asked the question of, hey, that's enough people in Spanish Fork now, so, how would you respond to citizens' concern that they don't want any more houses anywhere in Spanish Fork? They like the size that it is now.
So this is kind of off left field, but I would tell them to go to the parade or come hang out at Fiesta Days, because those events have grown so much just in the time that I have been here, and it's been for the better. We want people to be here because it improves, like, community. I mean, who are we if we want to just be a group of people that are not letting other people in? Like, that's where the joy is. That's where we're able to get the community from. That's where we meet different people. That's where we see different things. It's just that's just it, by meeting new people. And I think it'd be a disservice to the city, and it'd be a disservice to anyone else that wants to move here, to deny them the opportunity to do that.
Great. Thank you, Anna. Anything else for Anna? Okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay. Next, number 7, Jackie Larson.
Hi. So what do I want you guys to know about me? I am originally from Texas. I was born in Texas. I don't know if you guys know that. My parents' families are both from Utah. My dad's job kind of moved around a little bit, so clearly we came back. But I'm the mother of 2 kiddos. You already know that I'm the wife of a 6th-generation farmer here in Spanish Fork. And my husband was born and raised in Leland, and he and I together actually own 7 Bar Farming out there. I also have 16 years of experience in healthcare. I work for the largest independent multi-specialty practice in the state of Utah and Southern Nevada, Revere Health. So I am a revenue cycle supervisor. And prior to that, I worked at IHC, so I have experience on both the clinical and non-clinical sides of it. In my current position, I have experience in finance, policy, contracts, and leadership. And kind of a funny way known at work for my adaptability and weird things that I know, and attention to detail with that. So why me? As a few people said, our farms are something that are unique to our community and something that we all cherish and identify with. Much like a city, there's lots of moving parts with managing a farm, and strategic planning, looking to the future and kind of seeing how all those things incorporate with each other, looking at the fine details and the bigger picture of that. So from a land use perspective, I bring a unique and extensive knowledge of agricultural functions and the area that's anticipated to have the most growth. So agriculture is also an important contributor to our economy and the economy, like the backbone of our economy. With farming, I understand more the teamwork and how no one farmer and no one piece can kind of survive on its own. They all kind of have to work as a community together. So I think that my perception will balance the council by bringing my knowledge and experience from agriculture to kind of benefit our community. So next one. My vision for the future Spanish Fork. So I think that there actually is, I mean, I did just say that I'm the farmer's wife. Does not mean that I am against growth. That would really be unrealistic to actually consider. The library next door, before that was the church. It was actually my husband's great-great-great-grandfather's ground that he gave to the church before he moved out to Leland. And I love the idea that it's a library. I think it's gonna be great. I think that my vision for the Spanish Fork's future is sustainability, water conservation, and I think concern for safety is a must that we kind of can't forget about. I think that responsive government depends on the interests and involvement of all the citizens. So, I mean, ultimately, that's kind of what politics is all about, is supporting one another and trying to understand other people's perspectives, learn, evolve, and grow. So, kind of want to help Spanish Fork kind of cultivate that sense of community and treating strangers like you would treat your whole family. So, that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you. Any
Whoa,
questions?
come
We got
back.
questions.
Go?
Oh, yes,
Go.
sorry.
All
Yep.
right. So growth's coming. Let's just maybe agree that growth is coming.
It's inevitable.
Okay.
It has.
How do we preserve the farming way of life while we continue to grow?
I think by respecting, so it's a fine line of property rights, respecting those on either side of whoever's moving in here and who already is here. I think as the population grows, which it's going to, so does the need to feed the people. So I think identifying and having understanding of farmland in Utah, let alone Spanish Fork, is shrinking. You're gonna have to feed more people. So making sure that you utilize that, the best farm ground, the best yield that you can have actually is able to provide for those people that are coming in the future.
I have a question. Can you give me an example in your life where you dealt with a conflict and how you were able to resolve it?
So, healthcare. I think that can kind of also tie into local government too, because people, a lot of times when you talk to people, they are coming to you at the most vulnerable time of their life, or just a very vulnerable time that they're having to deal with, and change is coming too. So I think trying to understand so understanding that other people have somewhere where they're coming from, not being judgmental, and working towards goals together based off of the best interest for everybody and what you really think is just trying to be helpful towards them.
Okay, thank you.
Got a question for you, Jackie. So you have attended a fairly decent amount of city council meetings, planning commission meetings, in the past. In that regard, what have you learned about city government by attending those meetings, and how do you feel like it has prepared you to be able to serve on the city council?
Had you told me a year ago I'd be standing up right here, I would have not believed you. I have learned a ton from coming to the city meetings. Seeing kind of how things evolve, of kind of how the decisions are made, I don't feel like going to one city meeting is going to answer all those questions. It's a whole network of, there's a reason why you're saying yes or no. Doesn't happen very often, but you guys do say no sometimes. But I think perspective, like I came in here wanting to learn why, what is going on, how you guys come to the conclusions that you do, and it's beneficial to be open-minded about other people's perspectives, not coming in here just thinking that I'm coming to pick a fight, or they're going to, your opinion's already made up. I hear that a lot too, but it's, understand why. 'Cause I don't think anybody here has a kind of ulterior motive of, like, you know what you're going to do beforehand. You are very open-minded to everybody, and you have to ask some tough questions sometimes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else for Jackie?
I have one more.
You bet.
Only because Jackie brought it up a second ago. We often get criticized that we say yes together, that no one says no. But the fact is, we all say yes for very different reasons. How important is that the council's on the same page, or is it important that we're on the same page?
It is, but it's not. I feel like with the council, you all have different backgrounds and different areas that you can bring to the table that, I mean, I was one of them that thought that you guys all just said, yes, I will say that up front, but I found that I was wrong, that I think you kind of have to just go off your own intuition and gut sometimes too. Like if you just feel like something's, you're going to say no, I think you might be one of the other ones that have said no, where everybody else said yes.
Last night said no.
Yeah, well,
You're wearing a
Who's
tie.
I see, grabbed his tie.
Just saying. Happened.
I'm not pointing fingers, but I'm
Happened.
pointing fingers at, you know,
Very
somebody
brave.
else.
It's very
It's
brave.
very brave of me.
Yeah, does that answer it?
Yeah, it does. Thanks.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for coming. Okay, that takes us to number 8, Paul Webb. But Paul let me know that he's not here tonight, and he got some other callings in the community that are going to take up his time, and so sent me a nice message respectfully asking to be excused tonight. So Paul, if you're watching, you are excused, and thank you for throwing your name in the hat and letting us know you're serving elsewhere. Did Seth raise his hand? Did we need a, oh, okay. Okay, so that'll take us right to number 9, Mark Warner. Best beard in the city hall today, I think.
I'm wondering if I get Paul's time also.
Oh, yeah, we got it too. There you go.
I may
Mark.
not want it. I want to start out with thanking the mayor and the council for your time that you're putting into this and your concern for all of us that this process is carried out correctly. Thank you. I'll start out telling you a little about myself. I'm a 5th-generation resident of Spanish Fork. My great-great and great-grandfathers were engineers who developed some of the earliest infrastructures for the city, including roads and irrigation systems. They began a heritage of service and development of the community that has animated my family since then and is the driving force in my own life. I have spent countless hours volunteering in the community, from being sports coach to scoutmaster to girls camp host and chef to a delegate for the local precinct of the Republican Party to chairman of the Fiesta Days Executive Committee. While I have found this work rewarding in and of itself, I'm also motivated because my children have also chosen to live in Spanish Fork. Because of that, I am invested in keeping Spanish Fork a good place for families to live. I want my own grandchildren to understand the heritage they are inheriting as residents of this city and for that heritage to be meaningful to them as they start their families of their own. I was a part owner and director of operations of a successful printing company for the past 20 years. That time was a period of rapid technology change in the industry. During this time, I shifted production processes from full analog printing to hybrid analog digital printing to fully digital printing. With a workforce of over 50, I hired and trained employees and shepherded them through these technology changes, first obtaining the needed training myself and then teaching new skills to the employees. I was responsible for managing over $1 million in annual purchasing needs for the fluctuating client load, including equipment, paper, ink, chemicals. I worked to reduce production waste from 8% to 2%. These experiences have helped me develop important problem-solving skills that I am anxious to employ in the service of the city as a city council member. My vision: in a growing community like Spanish Fork, I believe that maintaining public safety and the perception of public safety are increasingly important. Feelings of safety when I was growing up in the city came more from the networks of relationships between the neighbors, even though there was a police present then. Today, though, as the community has grown, these social networks are less able to offer the feelings of safety that we were used to in those years ago. So I believe that we need to maintain levels of police and emergency medical services with the pace of growth of the city. Because of my experiences as a small business owner, I believe that small businesses are an important part of our future. I currently work at Lowe's, so it's not that I don't see the value of a big box store. Pardon me, big box stores. They provide an important function, offering volume retail services and generating important tax revenues for the city. But it's the small businesses that are the heart of our community. Small businesses, unlike the city's larger employers, tend to hire locally so that they serve to build relationships between community members. When we spend money in our small businesses, that money stays in the community and strengthens it. To compete in the market with a big box store, our small businesses have to survive on service and their relationships. So when you go into a Stone Drug or My Sister's Closet or J-Mart, you know the people that serve you because they live here. We need to continue supporting our local businesses because they can help maintain feelings of belonging in our community. Over the last 10 years, the city has made a significant progress on developing our parks and trail systems. I believe that sustained attention to this system is an important part of maintaining the quality of life in our community. We should work to make the trail system continuous and increase the number of parks. Adding irrigation ponds can serve as both recreation sites and as an important source of water for a growing city. Throughout my life, I have developed a unique set of skills that I will bring to my work with the City Council. We have strong heritage as a city, and we need to preserve the best parts of that heritage as we face an uncertain future. I've already spoken about my experience as a business owner, leading the business into different printing technologies while still holding true to principles of good business. I believe I have the experience to combine hindsight and foresight to help the city reach its potential, like I did with the printing business. Sometimes, though, incremental change is not enough and wholesale changes are needed. I recently transitioned to work for Lowe's here in the town as a pro sale specialist. This was a wholesale change for me. We're out of time. Okay. Any questions?
You can close. Thank you, Mark. Any questions for Mark?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So, Mark, you've mentioned you're a business owner, that small business is important to you. So what role do you feel like the city council has in supporting our local small businesses?
I think we need to concentrate on increasing simple things like parking in the downtown area would help with the small businesses. Need to encourage new small business to come to the community. Other things that can be done is support, like the city council took action during the COVID times and did those value coupons or
Vouchers.
vouchers to support the small businesses. That was a very good thing to do, and things like that. Any other questions?
I have one. You mentioned the perception of public safety.
Uh-huh.
Do you believe that the perception is matching the reality today?
No, because the reality is that we are actually just as safe as we were.
So the perception still
But the
being,
perception is that we're not. that
why
we're
do you think
unsafe.
that? I mean, why do you sense that? What's giving
I
you that?
sense that is because I can see a change in the way my behaviors were when I was young, married, and had children, and I'm watching my own children and how they react. They're concerned about their children, which are precious, and not allowing them to be on their own as much as I did and stuff. So, and to curb that, I think we need to add more volunteer-type programs. The CERT program is a very good volunteer program. There's got to be other programs that the volunteers in the community can get involved in to add the feeling or perception of safety for our children.
I have a question. Mark, I love all your life experience. Will you tell us about a time where you dealt with a conflict?
I did
and
one
helped
today.
resolve it? Today?
Mhm.
Okay, tell us about it.
I had a client that came in that was under a deadline. He had a large load of drywall that needed to be delivered because he was leaving town on Monday. We hadn't been able to deliver it because of weather. The weather cleared today. I contacted him yesterday and said, I think we'll be able to deliver it. My driver called out.
Oh,
So I proceeded to contact other Lowe's stores, found a spare driver, had him come pick up the load and deliver it.
awesome.
I'm sure there's thousands of other instances like that.
That's a good
Any
one.
other questions?
Thank you.
Mark, you mentioned, I wrote down coach. You've coached in city before.
Baseball, wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got and it's probably not unique to the recent years, but it seems to be getting worse of our recreation programs getting coaches.
Volunteer coaches.
To volunteer. Do you have any ideas of what solutions may be besides just sending the chief of police after them and making them?
I think that's something like I've taught my own kids to volunteer because they've watched me volunteer. My son is a volunteer coach to the high school wrestling team. My daughter volunteers to teach drill to girls and participate in that. I think we need to do better as parents and citizens to educate our upcoming youth and parents that this is important for a community. That's the difference in Spanish Fork. We're a community, we're not a city. And the difference in a community is volunteers.
Good. Thank you. Anything else for Mark?
Okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, number 9. Now we go to number 10, Pierre Guzman.
So for the record, that's Pierre Guzman.
Guzman.
Thank you.
Got it.
Good afternoon, good evening. My name's Pierre Guzman. About myself, I've been in Spanish Fork for 22 years. I am a first-generation Spanish Forkian. I wasn't born and raised here, obviously. I come from a town in California. I'm an only child to a single mother. I came to Utah with $600 in my pocket, a bicycle, and 2 suitcases. And I'm very proud to say that at this point, I've had a great opportunity in my life. The home that I live in today is the first 4-walled home that I've ever lived in my life. And what I mean by that is nobody lives above me, nobody lives attached to the sides. Spanish Fork gave me something that I could never have gotten anyplace else. For what it's worth, my heart rate's about at 84. Only? My vision for this future, in conjunction with why me. I wasn't gonna do this, and all of you don't know who I am, right? You learned about me, or you saw me when it came to the Rec Center focus group. Who's this guy? What the heck? He can't shut up. He's got an opinion about everything. Well, a couple weeks ago, I asked my daughter, I was joking, and I said, let's just pack up, sell the house, move to Arizona. And my daughter said, why? And I said, well, what do you mean? She goes, I don't want to move. I said, why not? She said, I don't want to move because I love it here. My friends are here. And that kind of sparked me. So when the opportunity came up for this, I said, what the heck? I want to be able to answer my daughter's why. I'm going to tell you straight up. If you choose me tonight, I will run for office in a year, because I feel that this is going to be kind of the runway for me. But why am I here? Because being on that focus group triggered me a little bit. It triggered me to want to know more. It triggered me to want to understand more of what's going on in our community. I feel that I bring something of value to this organization, an underserved community of the Hispanic and Latinos in our town. Do I know about farming? I don't. Do I know about roads? I don't. Do I know about housing? I don't. But what I do know is what it is to start from the bottom and work my way up. To learn, to understand, to deal with the trials and tribulations that we all have. Every single person in this room has not been gifted success. We've all worked very hard for it. I'm proud to say that I live in Spanish Fork, even though upon occasions people like to make fun and say, oh, you live in Spanish Fork? But really, I've made some amazing friends in this town. I've got some incredible children and a beautiful wife who loves it here. And so, why not try and make it better? Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Pierre. Appreciate it. Any questions for Pierre?
So I just want to make a comment, Pierre. 90% is showing up. We appreciate your time you served for that committee. You brought a lot of things to it, and being outspoken sometimes is important.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Speak about that, Pierre, your Rec Center committee experience there. What was maybe the positives? What were negatives that came out of, that committee you served on for the city?
I mean, I kind of looked at it indifferently, right? I mean, I wasn't, obviously my role on the committee was because my daughters are competitive swimmers, right? What little piece could I bring to it? One of the positives was to really kind of understand what you're having to work through, right? I mean, bringing the decision of we are going to build a rec center, right? There's a video that you made that said, hey, the city council is united. We're going to make this happen. Now, that's a tough decision, right? I think earlier one of the questions was about making tough decisions, and that was a tough decision, right? Not everybody agrees with it, but again, trying to see how we can make this city, the community, more for the people, right? I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, we don't want it, we don't want it. Are they the more spoken ones, or are they not? So I guess the positive is the negative, which is when you're on the city council, you have to serve the people and you have to do things that everyone's not going to agree with. So I really enjoyed the fact that the city council even took the time to bring a community of citizens together for that, right? Who would have thought? Get people's opinion. Try to understand really what do we need and why do we need it? Because if we're going to make this decision, we want to make the right decision, a longer decision for something that's going to be here for a while, because the rec center will be here for a while, and we need it to serve the growing community of Spanish Fork.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from Pierre? Thank you, Pierre. Okay, number 11, John S. Chase.
Mayor, council, and all the wonderfully talented people that are in this auditorium today. My wife thought I was crazy for putting my hat in the ring for this. But what I'd like you to know about me is that I grew up on a farm in northern Minnesota where cold is 20 below zero. And we were poor, but I didn't know it at the time. We had everything that we needed, but we didn't have anything extra. And I also went to school in a small town. My class was 82 people. However, I went from that location to a large college, and then I traveled to South America where I learned Castellano, or Spanish. And then after I graduated from college, I was commissioned in the Air Force, where I served in California, Michigan, North Dakota, Louisiana, and finally in Qatar. You may know a little bit about Qatar because the World Cup's being played there right now for anybody that's interested in soccer or football. I worked there at the embassy in Qatar when they got that opportunity to have the World Cup hosted now. My responsibility was working with the Air Force, our Air Force and their Air Force to help them acquire C-17s. So I wrote proposals to our Congress, classified, sorry, so I can't share them with you, on whether they could have C-17s, C-130s, the Black Hawk helicopters, which they'll soon be getting, and the QA-15, which is based on our F-15 fighter, which I think they've received the first ones already. I also accompanied their delegations here to the United States, to the Pentagon and to general contractors here in the United States, Boeing and others. And also escorted delegations from the United States that came to Qatar. General Petraeus, I helped him get quarters there in Qatar, and some other high-ranking dignitaries. What I've been doing lately, since I've left the Air Force over 10 years ago and lived here and retired here in Spanish Fork, is I worked with H&R Block for taxes. So I've learned a little bit about people and from rich to poor and what makes them tick, because they have to come in and everybody has to talk to the tax man at some point. Technology is something that I understand very well. I worked for a company here in the United States writing proposals so that they could get government contracts. I'm also highly adaptable. I've done a lot of different things in my life, go from a poor farmer to here in Spanish Fork. Currently, I'm working at United Way as a paratransit driver. So I got up at 4 o'clock this morning. What's my vision for Spanish Fork? I believe that we should continue the sustained wise growth that has been occurring over the last decade into the future, which means keeping the Spanish Fork family-friendly. The trails and parks are wonderful. Keep those happening. The parades are wonderful. The fiesta days. The recreation center that I'm anticipating coming at some point here in the future. I don't know when it's going to start building, but looking forward to it. The library that's going to be next door over here. The city planning that's been going on as they kind of try to balance all the different wants and needs of the different people that are here, that are coming, or that are retiring and they want to sell their farm so that they could get those millions of dollars, they can move on. I think one of the biggest things that's going to be affecting Spanish Fork in the near future is calming the traffic, especially on 6 as we go between, go from Macy's to Walmart, or go from R&R Barbecue over to Wendy's to decide who gets what for dinner. So why me? Well, I haven't lived in Spanish Fork all my life. However, my third great-grandfather had a spot in the fort, and you can look at that in the book. His name's right there. He had 2 daughters with his last wife here in Spanish Fork, and one of them got spirited away to Idaho, but anyway, that was my second great-grandparents. I grew up on a farm in northern Minnesota, so I understand what farm life's like. My third great-grandfather's buried in the Pioneer Cemetery. Grandmother's buried here in the Spanish Fork Cemetery. And like I said, I've lived here for 10 years. One of the biggest things that I think I can provide is an understanding of a diverse, working with diversity, because I have worked with people from all walks of life. When I was in Qatar, I worked with contractors who were from Indonesia, the Philippines. Here, I work with people on all different levels. Obviously, driving for paratransit, I work with people who are mentally disabled, all the way through physically disabled, and I can carry on a conversation with most of them if they can talk back to me. Some can't. But anyway, I tend to get on along with a lot of different people, and I tend to form relationships with them. That's what I have for you.
Thank you, John. Thanks for your service.
Thank you.
Your military service and paratransit service. That's good stuff.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I'll second that, John. Thank you for your service to our country. When you first commented, you commented about wise growth. Would you comment further on what that maybe would mean to you?
Wise growth means to me that we're not speeding ahead and not paying attention to the flanks, to use a military term. So what's happening over here in the periphery is also important as we continue to move the whole ship forward. Things aren't left out and then, oh, oops, we should have thought about that 3 years ago. Like right now, we're redoing the water plant, which if we hadn't started a couple of years ago on that, 5 years from now, we'd have been in real hurt.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Anything else for John?
John, didn't you go to the Spanish Fork University?
I did. I went to the very first one and met you there.
So tell me what if you're not aware of Spanish Fork University, you go to all of the departments. What department did you learn the most from?
And staff's just right there.
Yes.
I mean, it's not a loaded
I learned
question.
that Nick does an awesome job.
I did not ask who did the best job. Like,
I know.
what did you learn the most from?
I just had to give him a shout out because he's here. I think I would have to say the audiovisual department.
Okay.
I think it's a small part, but it sells everything else. Because if you don't know what's going on, or what's going on is hidden from you, then you don't have an option to decide whether or not what's going on is good. And that's where Channel 17, and they also have a web presence now, and they probably have something to do with this getting broadcast.
Yeah, you're getting
So
filmed.
I watched them and how they do their stuff, and it was great.
Okay.
The guy in the back gave you a thumbs up. Yes, sir.
Well, if you don't, like I said, if the tree falls and nobody sees it, then did the tree fall?
Thanks, John.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Okay, number 11, done. And number 12, Mike Clayson.
Step one, I didn't trip. We'll take it. First, I want to thank the mayor and council for this time. And I know the pressure's on us, but in a few minutes, it's going to get flipped, and this will be fun.
Thanks, Mike.
So, thank you for all your service. I know a lot of you pretty close, and you guys take some abuse. And I want to tell you I appreciate what you do. I want to thank Brandon for his 11 years, near 11 years, a couple weeks shy, I believe, for what he did. And I want to thank those in here that are running. It takes a lot of guts to stand up here, and you're opening yourself up for some criticism. I was going to thank Spanish Fork 17. But I keep getting pictures of myself zoomed in, yawning, or whatever I'm doing. So I don't know if Travis gets a thank you just yet. But this group behind me is pretty impressive. And I will say, I'm going to point one guy out, and I probably shouldn't, but Mason. We know he's young. Did you guys know he's 18? Mm-hmm. My goodness. To stand up here and do what he did, I'm impressed. He knows what he's doing and where he's going, and I'm impressed with that. What do you need to know about me? I got a lot of kids. 5 kids, my wife. We were both born and raised here in Spanish Fork. Grew up on 3rd South over there by the cemetery. That was our hangout. I'm like everybody else. I want my kids to live here. That's the $1 million question. How does that work? I work at the credit union on 3rd South, and I've been with the credit union about 22 years. We opened that branch probably about 10, 12 years ago. And I think that's one of the unique things about me is I'm here local. I have a job that's pretty flexible, and I have an office that is open for anybody that has any questions or comments. And despite losing last time, I did get some questions and comments about some stuff they didn't like. So luckily, I had you guys on speed dial, and a lot of you fixed those for me. I appreciate that. I want to talk a little bit about my vision and where it started. And I may embarrass somebody that's up there, and that's okay. There was we had an opportunity to help with Fiesta Days, and it was a week before the bow hunt, and a car pulls up, and Stacy Beck and Gail Davies get out, start walking up to my porch, and I'm like, I don't know what that is, but that cannot be good. And it's a week before the bow hunt, so I'm gonna let my wife handle that. So my wife starts talking to him. She hollers, Mike, come here. The bow hunt's a couple days. Got to get this done. And anyway, we ended up talking with Gail and Stacy, and I don't know if she's remembering this, but they asked us to serve on the Fiesta Days committee. And I didn't want to be offensive, but I'm like, hey, I'm old, but I'm not that old. They're like, yeah, we talked about it. We're good. We want you. I'm like, I got a lot of little kids. Yeah, we're fine. We'll work it out. We're fine. So honestly, a week before the bow hunt, I'm going to say yes to get you off my porch, right? So it wasn't until 2 months later when I get a call that says, hey, it's almost January. We have a meeting for Fiesta Days. And I'm like, say what? A meeting in January for July? Well, apparently they'd already had a couple. So, but that's what began my wanting to serve. We were able to serve on Fiesta Days committee for 3 years. Since then, it's probably been 4 or 5 years, and I've helped out with the Pyro Musical. It's one of my most proud things. I know the city actually received an award last year for what they've done, and it is impressive. I know that last year alone, we figure if you ask the police department, they'll never give you a count of people, but they said over 20,000. Between my committee, help with Stacy, help with Emily at the city, we were able to raise $30,000 to pay for that. And that's part of our award. It's an event that was funded by private money, by citizens and businesses here in Spanish Fork, and even outside of Spanish Fork. We had Springville. I told the Springville companies, we'll take their money. And they started to spill into our event. And it's something I'm pretty proud of and very happy to be a part of. My vision, I'll tell you, we talked a little bit about Spanish Fork 101. I don't know if people are out there listening. I know if you haven't taken this, take it. Nick does a phenomenal job of putting this together and running with it. And I really think I wanted to run last time. All right, I did run last time, and I learned a ton. And I learned that I wasn't quite ready at times, and I learned that even now. I've still got a lot to learn. But going through the Spanish Fork University and watching, if you want to think of this city as a business, it is ran better than any business I've ever been a part of. They, top to bottom, from you guys down to the umpires that take abuse at the basketball games. It is ran phenomenal. Anybody that wouldn't want to be a part of that is crazy in my book. Just to finish up before my time's up, why me? My love for the city is one. I do not like to lose. Last time in the election, I come up a little bit short. And thankfully, a couple guys reached out to me and made me feel a little bit better about that and told me not to give up and to keep battling. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. Any questions for Mr. Clayson?
Yep.
I knew it.
You asked it in the speech. You said, the big question is, how do I keep my kids here? How do you keep your kids here?
The best part I will say about this, I know this question gets asked a lot, and if you said high-density housing, people will probably lynch me, right? The reality is you've got to have a little bit of everything, and we have a staff, from what I've seen, that is phenomenal about putting ideas and things together. I will be honest, when they started to put the condos, townhomes up by the small mart, I thought, I don't like this. It has worked out phenomenal. I have friends that live in there and just love it. And some of those friends were young men that I coached in football and baseball, and how happy I am they can stay in this town. And it's great planning. And I'm never going to pretend to have the best idea, but I will go off the shirt tails of this city and their staff because they know what they're doing.
Anything else for Mike?
Mike, I want to ask you, and I know I've asked a couple other people this, but can you give me an example of a conflict that you help resolve?
Like outside my house, right?
Don't bring Angie into this.
Those never get resolved. I just say yes, dear, and I move on.
Resolved.
You know, part of my job, I have the unfortunate thing where I have to repossess people's cars. And it's not fun. I don't care what people say about paying or not paying. And so there's been some situations where it's very emotional. And my wife will make fun of me because we were walking through Macy's and a lady came up, gave me a hug, said, "Hey, thank you." Da-da-da, walked out from my wife, says, "Who's that?" And I said, "I repoed her car last week." She's like, "Why is she giving you a hug then?" I said, "Because we worked it out, and we got through it, and we're friends." So I think I have a very calm personality. I hope I'm very approachable, so.
Thanks, Mike.
You're up here, Mike, and different opinions about a host of different things, housing and taxes and you know, all the big issues that you can deal with as a city council. How would your opinion being different from somebody else's opinion, city council member or citizen in the city, how do you deal with that? Just maybe having a different point of view than somebody else. And
Well, it's going to happen, right? 100%. We are not going to agree on everything, nor should we probably. But I will say that in this world today, respect would be number one. I would give that person the respect and listen to their side of it, because that's very important. We don't have that in this world very much right now. And I would be open to their ideas. Like I say, I'm never going to say I know everything, nor am I always right. But I would be open to their ideas and kind of go from there.
Mike, you work in a unique place. What about safety in our community? You've had some opportunities to see that firsthand, I think.
If you listened to me at all last year, you would know Spanish Fork PD are some of my best friends. Having a credit union that was robbed twice at gunpoint, and then living where I do at, we're going to call it Makeout Point if you don't know where that's at. But Makeout Point, we get into some situations, and I will say, at work, we've done a lot of training, new ideas, different things, technology to try and make that better. At some point, you can't control somebody else's actions. You can just be ready for it. But the other part of that is in this town, we have, I think last year, one of the safest cities in America. And we have, from Chief Johnson on down, some of the best police department that you could ask for.
Thank you, Mike.
sorry, one more. You brought up coaching, recreation.
Yes, sir.
You've been involved in recreation just a bit here and Fiesta Days. How do you feel about the direction of the recreation department in Spanish Fork City? The rec center being not under construction yet, but it's pretty soon to be.
I'm excited for it. I will be honest, the first time that come up, me and Stacy have talked about this. I wasn't for it, she was. Me and her husband were on the same team. But I think the way it's,
Kidding, totally kidding.
the way it's done this time is you guys have done a phenomenal job at making it affordable. And the location where it's going to be. I'm excited for that. As far as Parks and Recs, ran the best in the state, and there's no question. I deal with them all the time between Fiesta Days. I am overly impressed. Coaching basketball game this year, it's been about 30 years. Me and my wife were figuring there's probably about 500-600 kids that we've helped coach. And this year, they're having some issues getting umpires and referees, if you can imagine that, in this world. It's shocking, I know. And coaches, but I'm coaching this year, and I love what they've done. They have laid down the law. They've told you that if this and this happens, you're done. This and this happens, this is what it is. And I thought they've done a fantastic job.
Anything else for Mike? Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for coming. Okay. Takes us to number 13, Jesse Card.
Chad, next time you're gonna have to amend your motion to say Shane keeps the tie up the whole time.
Implied.
Had it for an hour.
Hey, it's there. That's a milestone.
Hey, it was a win. Thank you, Council, Mayor, for inviting us all in to do this interview process. I'm Jesse Carden. My wife and I selected Spanish Fork years ago to raise our family. We wanted to be a part of this community. We, like many others in the community, came and started living, working, going to church, doing the things, going to Macy's, right? And just being a part of the day-to-day of Spanish Fork. That changed when I started hearing rumblings about this small mart, the second Walmart that was coming into town that people were upset about. I didn't understand the why. It was near my house, but I just didn't completely understand everything that was going into that. So I started attending meetings, started coming, got to know a guy that's missing today, Brandon, who took time to tell me about what was going on, the process, how it worked, and was really transparent in that process. That made it so that I wanted to be a part of the things that were going on in the community. I wanted to know the more, the why. I wanted to know the how. And so I did that. A few years later, I was asked by my company, Grifols, to open a plasma center here in Spanish Fork. That was exciting because it's my hometown. I get to open a center in Spanish Fork. I get to be a part of the business community. I knew that that meant that I needed to be a part of the Chamber of Commerce because the Chamber of Commerce is an important part of what we do here. So I did that. Very soon after was elected as the chair of the Chamber of Commerce. And who would have known that the years that I would get to serve would be COVID, changes in personnel, a lot of different things that we got to work through. COVID was hard for our business community. We had to work through an Easter egg hunt that has been happening for, I don't know, decades. I don't know how long it's been going, but a long time. A Winter Lights Parade that this year was its 25th year. We had to rethink the way that we did things, and that took a lot of work, a lot of effort, and a lot of communication because people were upset, and they wanted to know why we were changing those things. Also, like I said, personnel changes. We've just recently hired a new CEO for the Chamber, and Kathleen has done a great job in helping the Chamber to be a visible part of our community. That leads into the vision for Spanish Fork. My vision for Spanish Fork has evolved over time. A couple years ago, Mayor Leifson invited me to be a part of the Planning Commission, which, if you haven't attended a Planning Commission meeting, they are very different than City Council meetings. There's a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of things going on. But it helped me to understand what work goes into planning a good city, what it takes to actually work through zoning issues, housing issues, infrastructure, like all of these things that we've been talking about this evening. It really evolved again when Kevin was elected to the council and I was voted in as the chair of the Planning Commission. That takes a different effort into making sure that you're hearing all sides, that you're leading those discussions and making sure that everybody feels heard. But as that continues to evolve, Pride and Progress is at the heart of my vision of Spanish Fork. We have to take the pride in where we've come from, what has been decided beforehand. Like we could talk about pressurized irrigation, we could talk about the ball fields, we could talk about a lot of things that the city has planned before, but then taking that and looking for the progress into the future. We have to make sure that we're planning for the future for sustainable growth that looks like different things, infrastructure, roads. We have a freeway, the entrances, multiple of them that are coming. What does that look like? How do we make sure that we're ready for those things? And I also think that making sure that we're looking at what works best for today, but ensuring that it's going to continue to work in the future. And there's going to be changes, there's going to be things that we have to continue to work through, but it's important that we're taking the time to really study those issues. Lastly, why me, right? That's the fun question that we get to ask. My journey through my service in Spanish Fork has been unique. Leading the Chamber of Commerce, going through the Planning Commission and being a part of that has taught me many valuable lessons in working with people, in hearing their concerns, but also working through those concerns. There's going to be times as a council, it's been mentioned before, that we're not going to agree. We're not going to see eye to eye. We need to have that mutual respect that we're taking the time to understand, hearing each other, talking through those issues. But then also, once a decision is made, we need to be working together to make sure that we're working for success. Nobody is better if something fails. Once it's approved, once it's gone through, it's important that we're aligned in making things the best it can possibly be. Some of these things that I went through, some of these different leadership challenges or events, I could say, have taught me that it's important that you're connecting with people and asking the right questions, but then listening to those answers. Because oftentimes when people are upset, people are still going to be upset often. But when they feel heard, when they know that you're sincerely listening to them, they do care. They do want to be a part of that. And like I said, I think that that's where that buy-in comes to looking forward to the future for success. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Appreciate it. Questions for Jesse?
I've got one.
Go ahead.
Who's first?
Go ahead.
So Jesse, you mentioned in your comments, and you have some experience with the Planning Commission, infrastructure and roads. And if you've communicated and talked to people within the community, you'll know that traffic and roads is one of the major issues that we deal with.
We like to talk about that a lot.
So how do you feel, or what do you think the role is as a city council member to fix some of our traffic issues, congestion issues that we may be dealing with in Spanish Fork?
We should ask the engineer next to you, and we throw our hands up. Just kidding.
Kind of like that question.
I think that, like, we just had an infrastructure amendment that came through. You voted on it yesterday, and I think that it's asking the right questions. We have a lot of professionals that take a lot of time looking at these issues, doing traffic counts, doing studies, doing a lot of work, right? But then it's asking the questions of, does this actually work? Going out and looking at those things. I know that a couple of months ago, and it might be longer than a couple of months ago, there was a street that there was talk about people racing down, right? Like there was I don't even know what they call it, drag racing, I think was the words that were used. Our city staff took the time to go and study that, to figure out what that is. But then they also looked for solutions. Another example of that was on Main Street, the cones that were talked about to turn off that left turn lane during school hours, right? I'm going to come back fully to that answer is I think that we have to make sure that we're talking through those issues, asking our city staff to take the time to figure out the answers, but then working amongst each other to say, is this the best use of our resources, or is there another way to make this happen? And the role of the city council is to continue having those conversations and to listen when those concerns are brought up. Some of them are valid and some of them are not always valid. Sometimes it's, hey, I had to wait for 3 minutes at a stop sign and during the busiest part of the day. I don't know. So, like, I'm just giving kind of a hypothetical example.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chad.
Mine's a really tough one.
I like tough enough questions.
Who won the 1936 World Series?
Sure hope it was the Yankees.
That's it?
They have 28.
There was a World Series in 1936?
Let me follow it up with a tougher question while Shane's gathering himself. If you were up here, Jesse, you sit on the planning commission, so you see a lot of projects, a lot of things come through. What do you think the biggest issue? What do you think the most emails, the most phone calls, the most texts in the city as a representative of the city? What is the biggest issue? What do you think you'd hear about the most?
I think the thing from my observation is not in my backyard. And I know that that's probably, not an easy answer, right? But there's a lot of projects that come through that people don't necessarily want near their house or near their property. I don't know if that's the number one issue, but I think that might be the number one thing that you get. I do think traffic is a big deal for a lot of people right now. Highway 6 is busier than it's ever been. The city is working to fix that, right? We talk about Main Street or the widening of Highway 6. I know that that's something that's a UDOT thing, not necessarily a Spanish Fork thing, but it's happening. The north-south interchange off from Main Street on 3rd East and 3rd West, those things will help that. But I do think that our infrastructure or our roads is a big issue because it does impact quality of life.
Thank you. Shane.
Okay. This is kind of a long one. So the city council is a representative form of government. We represent the people that voted us in, right? Over the past, 6 months or so, there's been a couple instances where the decisions we've made, or before we make decisions, there's this desire to put that decision out to the vote, to the people to vote on. So give me a few thoughts about your ideas around when would the public vote versus the city council making the decision. What issues would we put forward to the
Well, you think about the city council, they are elected by the citizens of Spanish Fork, so they are asked to do the city's business. That ranges from a variety of, land purchases, that's road usage. Like I can go through different things. There are some major things that they would potentially need to go to a vote. A RAP tax is a great example of that, right? That was something that had to go to the citizens to vote on, and it lasts for 10 years, which is great, and then it will be voted on again. It's something that keeps going back to the citizens. I think that maybe to surmise what you're saying, the city council and the mayor are elected to make sure that the city continues to run. And there's a lot of decisions that go along with that, and that's what they're elected to do. There are going to be difference in opinions on what that means. And I think that that's one of the great processes of our government, is that people can run referendums, they can do different things to try and, they also get a chance to vote every 4 years on whether or not they like you as a representative. And so that is the opportunity for them to speak, or there, like I said, there's those other processes when they don't necessarily always agree with what is being done.
Thanks, Jesse.
Any other questions for me? Thanks.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Jesse.
Thanks, Jesse.
Okay, takes us to 14, Stephen Carlson.
All right. Well, my name's Stephen Carlson. Thank you for you and your service here. I actually like this format of the 6 minutes. The last time I was watching the 2-minute clock too much and got a little distracted, so the 6 minutes is really great. For the question about what do you want to know about you, these are the things I hope you know about me. I hope you know about me, and my wife and my kids and my family know this about me. One of the fun things about running for office and for coming to these forums is you want to come prepared. So you have to kind of look in. It's that reflection you're forced to do and come up with some answers. So I was raised as a Boy Scout, so I love that time of my life. And so I kind of came across the Scout law. So a Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. So when I think about this, I hope you know I'm trustworthy. I'm loyal. I'm helpful. I'm friendly. I hope you know I'm courteous and kind and obedient. I like to be cheerful. I think, most of our problems can be solved with a good attitude and a good approach to it. Just working together. Thrifty, I think thrifty is important, especially in this type of a format, right? We're spending taxpayers' dollars, so we need to be thrifty, make sure we're getting our bang for our buck out of them. Brave, I like to think that I'm brave. When I put my fire costume on and run up the canyon, I want to be brave for my citizens. Clean, and the one I don't necessarily agree with is I'm not really that reverent. So I'm pretty good on all of them, but the reverence. But I like to be loud and out there. So
You're filling a very reverent seat, so.
very reverent. Yeah. So I hope those are some things you know about me. And when I think about the future of Spanish Fork, I want you to remember one word, and it's competition. Okay, competition is what's made Spanish Fork great and what's going to keep us great. And that competition comes from ideas. It comes from working together through the best solutions. I was just at a football tournament down in Mesquite. There were, it was for 6th grade. There was teams from all over Arizona, all over kind of the western United States. So of there, in the 6th grade team, we had a red and a gray team. The top 2 teams on the red team were Spanish Fork and Maple Mountain. The other team was Spanish Fork. So you can bring us together no matter where we are, and we're competing to be the best. So Spanish Fork won that day. They represented the city well, and I think that's really, when we talk about, competing to have Costco in town, that's a huge main contributor. We have huge issues with roads and traffic, right? The best ideas, the competition of that's what's going to win out. They were talking earlier about we get our prescriptions maybe at Walmart on Sunday. We get our lamination done at J-Mart. That to me is fantastic. A city that can support big business and small business through competition makes makes us super successful. So I really want to, my vision for Spanish Fork is we're competing. We're competing for the best ideas. We're competing for the best talent. I love that there's this many people here tonight. That's competition, right? When you're running for office, I ran against some great people. They became great friends of mine. And I think it's making, competition, one of the things I want to say about it, it's not to be better than each other. It's really to push each other to be the best self for me, the best Spanish Fork that we can be. And I'm a better candidate today because of my last run, because I learned a lot. And I think it's just super important that we kind of take that approach to make Spanish Fork great. And then I think, what sets me apart from the other candidates today, I like to look long-term, 10 years out. I like to never make a decision unless we look 10 years out and really look at those small-town principles and values. we do need to pull together, and I think it gives us time to say, what's Spanish Fork going to look like in 10 years? We can have great debates on what it's going to look like in 10 years and kind of iron that out today instead of arguing about how traffic on Main Street will be there in 10 years, right? At what level, what volume, how's that going to look? So as we're looking together and working together on kind of how Spanish Fork's going to look in 10 years, I think it's really important to do that. And what sets me apart is really principle-based decision-making and that long-term perspective to make sure that we're making the right decisions and investments today that can get us to where we want to be tomorrow. So I talked fast, so I'm done.
Thank you, Stephen. Questions for Stephen?
I do. So, Steve, thanks for your service. How long have you served on the fire department?
Almost 5 years.
5 years. What's your thought of our EMS and
I absolutely
firefighters
love it.
and-
I think the direction of the fire service and you know, our police service is second to none. Our fire service is right there behind them. Chief Hell's doing an amazing job merging the two departments. The camaraderie is great. You're seeing things work together. I'm excited to see, you know, what I love about what's happening today is really that long-term vision, right? That study that's happening to kind of see where the fire station should be in town, how we can best meet the citizens. That's something I support and I'm super excited about is how we meet that demand in the future. So, yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Stephen, how's volunteering on the fire department prepared you to serve on city council?
So one of the things about being on the fire department is you get to be with people at the absolute worst time in their life. And so I think for me, what it's taught me is empathy to really, when you show up to somebody's house, this is the worst thing, and they called you, right? So you're running to their house as fast as you safely can. Whatever they're facing, they called 911 and you showed up. So how are you going to be there to help them? Composure, right? You want to make sure you're prepared and ready to go. We train, we make sure that, you know, you never know what you're going to roll up on. You can roll up on a little fender bender on Main Street and it'd be catastrophe. It may not have looked that way, but you got to be prepared for it. And I think being prepared and then, you know, just loving that citizen or whoever it is, it can be your neighbor. It could be, you know, my daughter's 16 years old. Every time I see an accident, I'm like, please don't be a white Jetta. And I pull my phone out and look. Because those are the people that we know and love that are calling for help and need it. So we want to make sure that service is there and that they know we're there for them to help them. And I think it's taught me more than I thought it was going to really be there. So the empathy part, the listening, you really have to listen. And listen at a level that I actually didn't understand or think was possible. Through the chaos to say, I need to make a quick decision on this information. So that I think I would say empathy is the biggest one.
Maybe you mentioned it and I missed it. Steve, what do you do besides volunteer for our fire department?
So I work for a company called IKEA Home Furnishings in Draper. We're kind of all over the place. So I sit on a steering committee board up there, basically kind of the board that runs this part of the world. And I represent the logistics function, so all the logistics operations that happen in this area kind of happen under my umbrella through that. We deal with everything from, on that board, it's, you know, human resources issues to budgeting issues. We kind of run everything, but my specialty is really look over the logistics operation, moving parts.
Thank you. Anything else for Stephen? Okay.
Great.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, takes us to number 15, Brett Bills.
It is an honor to address the council tonight. Boy, I'm really glad we're not here talking about taxes. So I have a couple of goals here. One, I really don't want to embarrass my wife. During the last election, every time an event started, she'd say, "Don't embarrass me." So, you know, she's watching. I hope I don't embarrass her. Two, I'd like to tell you something about me you don't know. You know my name's Brett Bills. You know that I show up when taxes are raised or when large projects are proposed. So hopefully I can tell you some things about me you don't know. Everyone on this council I have interacted with and everyone I have spoken with, and I have disagreed with, I think, every single one of you at some point in time. I hope as you think about that now, you remember that we did that professionally and kindly, and I think we're still friends. I am a very passionate person. So passionate that when someone doesn't hear what I say and I try to say it louder, I just sound angry. So I don't want to sound angry. I want to share, I just want to share some thoughts. I wrote down a lot as I prepared to talk to you guys. You know, the questions came through. Tell us about yourself. I'm a resident. I care about this place. I'm a father. I got 5 kids. They're being raised by this community. We use the services of this community more than anybody else probably does, and we are very grateful for them. From Wings and Wheels, the fitness, the Fit City, a lot of those are put on by citizens and supported by the city. But we use them. Harvest Moon Hurrah. The first time I went to the Harvest Moon Hurrah, my kids thought they were in Disneyland. It was amazing. They left there loaded with items. These are the things that my kids love about Spanish Fork. These are things that they love. My wife grew up here. She loves everything about it. I thought when we were choosing where to live that there was a discussion and a debate, but no. She played a good game, but here we are. And the truth is, we bought our first home here because it was the most affordable home that we could find. I think it's why a lot of my interactions with the city happen when costs of living are going up. You know, much like Pierre said, this place gave me something no one else could, nowhere else would. I couldn't afford to live in Provo. I couldn't afford to live in American Fork, which is where I grew up. So that is what brought us here. I can tell you it was a difference of $30,000 that brought us to Spanish Fork from my side of the relationship. Now, my wife knew we were going to live here. And frankly, we choose to live here every day. I absolutely love this place. As I mentioned, I grew up in American Fork. It was a small town. I would ride my bike downtown. I'd buy shotgun shells at the local Coast to Coast. None of us knew it was illegal. We didn't know. Well, that's what you did. And I can't go home. That place doesn't exist anymore. I have a lot of family and friends in American Fork, and I still love the town, and I love what it did for me. But it isn't there anymore. Councilman Marshall mentioned change is coming. We've known this. Change is coming. We can't stop it. This council can't stop it. Some of you may want to. Some of you may want to embrace it, make it bigger, but you can't stop it. It's happening. It is the job of this council to make sure that as we grow safely, and we grow in smart ways, and we look for ways that we can be standing here 20 years from now and go, this is where we love. We didn't lose paradise. We saved it. Sorry, I jumped right in. I don't know if I've told you anything about me you didn't know. I absolutely have supported decisions every one of you have made. In my interactions with you, I can tell you at least 3 of you have changed my mind on issues as they have come up. And that is hard for someone like me. I've never had a problem opening my mouth and speaking. Oftentimes I stop and back up, and then I'll have a friend say, hey, no, keep talking. I got involved in city politics here in Spanish Fork because of the Life Center project. I met Kevin. He wasn't a councilman then. That's how I met Kevin. We actually met on Facebook, of all places. And we debated ideas in the open, in the wild. And then we did something, and maybe you don't know this, we did something that I haven't seen happen since. We pulled that debate off of Facebook into a building, and we actually talked to people as neighbors and friends who care about this town. Wow, I talk a lot. As I ran for council last cycle, I sat down and I wrote up a website in June, like right after. I just sat down and said, why am I running? I'm running because I want to be involved. Okay. I care about this place. I want it to grow in a way that it can be a place I'm proud of and my kids can come and live. And I said, what problems are we going to face? And I actually pointed out a few. In June, I said, we're going to have trouble with fire and EMS. We're going to have trouble with water. We're going to have trouble with our roads. They're starting to fill up. There was that pool that disappeared that we're going to have to deal with. And I thought it was pretty smart. And then as the election started happening, those were the same issues that everybody was talking about. It turns out I'm pretty tuned into this community. And what I thought was interesting about that as I looked at it later was we all focused on the things that we didn't feel were quite right. Nobody was talking about the police station. That place is funded and our police force is amazing. Nobody really was talking about our trails. I mean, some of them brought it up and said they want more, but our recreation is amazing. There are opportunities here in Spanish Fork that are not elsewhere. And I didn't get to why me. Why me? I love this place. In my daily life, my daily job, I make decisions all day long. It's what I do. I live in two worlds that split. Fix something now and then fix it long term. I don't make decisions rashly. Data drives all of it. I get accused of being too data-driven sometimes, but hopefully I taught you something about me.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Brett. Any questions for Brett?
I'll go.
All right.
I love that you have a different way to look at things. Can you tell me, again, going back to some of my previous questions about when you had a conflict, maybe even specifically back with the Life Center, and how that did work out? Was it a positive experience? Was it negative? Did you look at it like, what could I have done different? Or what could the other person have done different to see my way?
Oh, that is a great question. That is the voice in my head in every interaction I have with somebody. Like, what just happened? Could I have done better? Could I have done different? During that experience, that was new to me. It was new to me to be involved in public. I work for a private company. I work with people who are highly motivated to be there. You know, a bunch of buddies working on a carburetor in a garage, kind of a lifestyle. I was shocked at the division that was happening at that time. And frankly, I hadn't made a decision on that project when I first started getting involved. And again, my wife was the one who got me involved, Mindy. So the overall conflict to begin with was so many voices yelling so many things. And the first thing I did was invited all of the loudest people into my home. Now, you want to be terrified and scared, send out an open invitation to 40 really loud people on Facebook and say, come to my house, let's talk about this. It was an extremely positive experience. Everybody in that room had a different reason for being in that room. Much like Councilman Marshall said earlier, sometimes you all reach yes for different reasons. Everyone in that room was there for a different reason, and we all just kind of discussed. We talked. We found out that some of the items that people were angry about were not something they needed to be angry about. There was a misunderstanding. There was confusion about how taxes work. There was confusion about how property taxes work. There was confusion about how the vote was going to work. So we actually cleared up some problems in that meeting in my home. Also made some terrific friends, met some very, very motivated people. And for that group of people, the conflict really kind of melted. Everyone started to work together to say, okay, what is it that we want to be heard? What is the message we want said about what we know about this? And the other piece of it was, we now had a group of people who, instead of just yelling that they were angry about something their neighbor heard, we were funneling information from a correct source. I would mention Seth Perrins took way too many phone calls. He interacted with us way too much. But we took that echo chamber and we calmed it down, and we got at a source of truth so that real questions could be answered in a way that made some of these people who feel disaffected feel like they had a voice or at least, you know, an action. I have neighbors that absolutely fought me on the other side of that project. Well, let me be clear. They didn't fight me. I really was the guy who was saying, no, here's the information. I fall here. Here's why. Here's the information. Here's what's being said here. But I had friends and neighbors that thought there was a fight there to be had over and over again that are now some of my best friends still to this day. Pierre and I served on that rec center committee together. He wants a really big pool. I wanted a cheaper pool. We came here tonight together. I'm so proud of him for being here tonight.
Thanks, Brett.
Thanks, Brett. All right. Anything else for Brett?
Yeah, I have one. So we campaigned together. I heard the story of where you came from a couple times.
Sorry.
No, just keep it up. I think it's a good story. And I agree with you. I don't know that I want Spanish Fork to be American Fork. Give me an example of how we don't let that happen.
That is a great question. During the Spanish Fork 101 class that I was in, that was amazing. I think it's been plugged by everybody. I'm on SFCN, Channel 17, telling everyone it's amazing. We had access to the city engineer, Dave Anderson, was super willing to answer all of our questions. One of the things I loved about it was the boogeymen disappear, right? We just get to ask people, hey, you've made a decision. That's what small town's about. We talked about the Neaters parking lot. That one comes up a lot. Why is everyone so mad about the Neaters parking lot? You get in there, you get trapped, you get stuck, you know. I'm not the one who said it, but someone said, who's the idiot who approved that? Dave Anderson said that was me, and here's why. And he explained that short of this council creating a new ordinance, he is bound by the state law that tells developers If they take their plot and they put it in a program and it can show that the little cars can make it safely, he has to approve it. I asked him, can the city council say, we want that changed for Spanish Fork because we have a lot of beautiful F-150s and Chevys in town that are running over those spots. His answer was yes. When I asked him, has this come up? He said, no, it hasn't. Maybe it should. So we can start with the little things like that. The project up by Del Taco, there's a drink shop going in right there. I don't know if you've driven up in there. I'm terrified. I'm gonna have to stop going there when they start selling drinks at that shop because it dumps those cars from a blind corner right onto the way out by Walmart. The same question comes up.
What idiot proved that?
Yeah, and I know the answer is going to be the laws in place now said I had to. The council and the employees of this city are bound by laws, and that really is funny. That's most of the answers of why someone's upset, something's happened, this process here tonight. We didn't make it, right? But you explain those laws, and then this council can tweak them with ordinances. They could actually fix that. I don't know if I answered your question, but that's one example.
Thanks.
I've got a question for you, Brett. Based on what you know of city government and the needs of Spanish Fork, what are your top priorities for Spanish Fork?
So that's interesting. They're separate, okay? My top priorities really are housing. I got kids, they need a place to live. That really comes down to that. I think that is a thing that we as a community need to figure out how to facilitate. That is going to mean that there are homes built that people don't like. There are going to be projects built people don't like. I think that the master plan should be evangelized like crazy so that those here now know what that is. We need input now. We talked about that during the last election. I think that it's hard to say number one because really Spanish Fork is doing such a great job. It's a place where our kids feel safe. It's a place where we have parks they can play. It's a place where we can expand these projects. We can expand Harvest Moon Hurrah to be at 3 parks instead of at 1. Like we have the room. The master plan has made that possible. So I would have to say it's the things that the citizens still complained about in that last election. Roads are a problem. Water keeps coming up. We did the research. Water is not a problem. As we encourage people to build more homes, we are recouping water. We need, I don't know how many people I explained that to during the election, and they went, oh, okay, good. And I said, that doesn't mean waste it. We still have, go to the city, get a ratio. The project that's happening at the golf course makes sense, but this growth is going to happen. And so the number one problem is how do we make sure that people are informed of how we think it should happen? How do we make sure that it's codified, that it will happen in a way that is safe for our community and then speaks to the values of our community? Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Anything else? Thanks, Brett.
Hey, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, 16, Megan Johnson.
I am seriously reconsidering my deodorant choice this morning, I'm just saying. Sitting here through all of these and then having to do this on my own. Anyways, thank you for having me. My name is Megan Johnson. I was born and raised in a small town of Bluegrass, Iowa, where I grew up barrel racing in the rodeo, and I was actually the 1996 Junior Reining Horse Association champion. So just a little bit about me. Seth probably didn't even know that about me. So being raised in a small town, I knew that is what I wanted for my boys and for my family. So my husband and I moved here 12 years ago, just over 12 years ago. And we love to run, we love to bike, we love the trails. If we're walking our dogs down there, if we're not down there, we're at the sports park. We're watching games, we're football, soccer, baseball. I'm running my son around trying to find a basketball court at an open church for him to practice on. My husband coaches. I have ideas about the rec program and coaching and encouraging people to want to participate in that. On the side note, I am a registered nurse. My background and my training is in emergency medicine, and I also have a master's degree in public health. Public health is my passion. Currently, I am the Chief Nursing Officer for Intermountains Spanish Fork Hospital. I had the very unique opportunity of planning, building, and opening this hospital in the middle of a pandemic. Not only can I budget multiple departments, I can manage FTEs, I can think outside of the box, and because I work with one Mr. Francis Gibson, I can listen more than I talk. And he'll quote me on that. But I can also talk about zoning. I can talk about the building permits that we had to go through. I can talk to you about anything environments of care. And I can also talk to you about the importance of testing listeria in the water, just a side note. Working in the hospital in my own community was a dream come true. But being able to provide the service and focus on access to health of the community was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that I don't take for granted. My vision for Spanish Fork Hospital. When Intermountain first started talking about building the hospital in Spanish Fork, I knew I wanted to be a part of it. To bring the greatness of what we do in healthcare to my own city was an exciting idea. We interviewed over 3,000 candidates to open our hospital, and we hired just under 300. But there was one question that we asked every single candidate, and that was why Spanish Fork Hospital and why Spanish Fork. There were 3 words that stuck out consistently with them, and that was culture, community, and family. And that is the epitome of what Spanish Fork is. It resonates through this community. Spanish Fork is not visibly the same community that I moved to 12 years ago, but what I cherish is the traditions that we have, and the ability to share those traditions with my children. My vision is to support the continued growth, this rapid growth that we're seeing. I feel it every day. To promote diversity and hold on to those traditions. To bring a connection between the pride and progress that we have with the health of the community and helping everybody live their healthiest life possible. When a city focuses on the health of the community that they serve, they are doing a service. And I want to be that resource to our city council to bridge the gap between health and the growth that we're seeing. I cannot speak as to what makes me better than these other great women and men behind me, but I can speak from my own life experiences. My position as the Chief Nursing Officer has provided me with many unique skills that would allow me to be successful in this position and for the community. Working in healthcare, you have to be okay with change. What I did this morning at work will be different than what we do 5 days from now and even 5 years from now. Tomorrow will always be different from today. So we have to be able to keep up with the medical advancements and the technology that is ever-changing healthcare. I have many situations where I've had to lead conversations and discussions about change. I am a change manager. I am a change advocate. It is what I have to do every day. Taking a nurse that has been in the position for 20 years and helping them to understand why things need to change and helping them to see change through their own eyes. Leading over 300 caregivers, I've learned that crucial conversations, difficult conversations, making difficult decisions, and accountability are hard. But I look at those and I see those as a challenge and an opportunity every day. I've been active and supportive in this community for many years, not in the way that you see most. Above and beyond the community events, I've worked closely with Susan Chapman on what cancer looks like in our community and why we have some of the highest cancer mortality rates in the state of Utah. I've worked with her on applying for grants for the city that will help benefit those that we serve. Planned the first Girls Night Out with Miss Spanish Fork. An amazing opportunity to bring women together to talk about things that they don't want to talk about. Boobs, mammograms, pap smears. An amazing opportunity to give them an opportunity to really talk about their health. I've collaborated with fire, with EMS, with Hydro, with the airport to do massive disaster exercises to make sure that our community is prepared. With the rapid growth of this community, I want to ensure that there's a direct focus on the health and the diversity, the disparities that we're seeing with the rapid growth into those that we serve. Thank you.
Finish up?
Yeah. I was just going to thank you guys.
Oh.
If I was going to thank the
We'll
council
take-
member
we'll take
Gordon
thanks. Yeah.
and thank you guys for your service. And thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Megan. You don't need to thank Councilman Gordon. He's gone. No. No, thank you. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Any questions for Megan?
I've got one. You said you're an advocate for change. Is there anything within Spanish Fork City that you have thought through that we need to look at changing?
I think one of the things, it really has to reflect on healthcare, and that is our mental health resources. And what resources can we provide to the community to provide more of a safer environment, to look at behavioral health, depression, suicide rates, and prevent the community from having to look at this and to have heartbreak, every time that we go through this. Another opportunity is our cancer rates. We unfortunately have some high mortality rates from cancer, and really looking at the access to care, the knowledge, the education, and everything that comes in combination with that.
Okay, thank you.
I've got a question for you, Megan. You are from Iowa. You are not a Spanish Fork native. What do you think being from outside of Spanish Fork or a non-native brings to the city council?
I was born and raised Lutheran. I'm not LDS. And so I think just an outside perspective, when you look at the growth, when you look at the diversity that is coming, and having an eye to what the rest of the world sees. I mean, we kind of think that we live in our own little bubble, especially in South Utah County. But being able to have a different perspective and seeing some of the disparities that you can see outside of South County or even out of the state of Utah, and just being able to bring in that perspective, I think is important.
Thank you.
Anything else for Megan?
Sure, one.
Yeah.
Just for the record, when talking with Francis, you have to listen more because he won't let you
Yes.
talk. So,
That's what she was getting at.
I kind of figured that, but I was going to tell
I know
him
he's
very, very
watching me.
specifically.
I know he's watching me.
Stacy sort of asked the question about change and what you would change. Clearly, you have the healthcare side of things really dialed in. Give me an example of, so you laid out a vision for Spanish Fork. Give me an example of what you would change in terms of the way we're growing, or what you would do, maybe not necessarily change, but give me some specifics around how our community looks different 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
I think when you look at the growth and the amount of the rapid growth, it is how that you hold on to those traditions. When you look at the small town feel, it has a lot of the feel that I had growing up in Bluegrass, Iowa, from the parades to the events. And when you look at 5 years from now, you have to look at how you manage that, but hold on to those traditions, to the farming community, to your cowboys, to the way that we do everything every day. And so how do you really pull in and look at what we want the future to be? And, I have to do that every day in healthcare. I'm trying to manage the growth right now just in what it is. And so the ability to look 5 years down the road and 10 years down the road, for Spanish Fork specifically, I would love to see a community that still holds to those traditions, but also looks at the diversity as a benefit, and the growth as, it's not a problem, but it's more of a, what do I want to say? I can't even think of the word now, I'm so nervous, but you can't see the growth as a problem, right? It's an opportunity, and every time we bring in somebody else, it's an opportunity to sit here and listen to their story and to see things differently from their point of view. And I would love to see, and I love that Spanish Fork already has that feel. takes a community to raise our kids, and it takes a community. When community isn't just one type of person, it is that diversity. And so I would love to really see Spanish Fork continue to hold on to that diversity, and the ability to welcome everybody with open arms, to welcome the growth, to welcome the, your farming community, your small town businesses, in as much as our chains. And I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
What do you think our biggest issue is if you were selected for this position? What do you think you'd start getting emails and text messages about most?
I would say probably the roads. Being on the other side of Highway 6 when everybody's trying to turn left to get to the hospital. We hear a lot about that, and I've had, the same problems in trying to get through the Neaters parking lot, and I think there's opportunities with the roads. I think there's opportunities out there, and one thing that I've really learned is being able to listen to both sides of the story. Everybody has a story, everybody has an opinion, trying to determine your wants versus your needs, and making a decision and standing by your decision. But decisions can't just be made single-handedly. You work as a team, you work as a community, you make the best decision, you look 10 years down the road, what is the best decision for us, and then you just kind of go from there.
Thank you. Thanks, Megan.
Thanks, Megan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, takes us to the last of our 17 tonight, Shelley Jamison.
Is this yours? Oh. Okay, this is so scary. First of all, I'm really, really amazed at the quality of people. It's like our community is kind of amazing. So, first of all, my name is Shelley Jamison. I've lived in Spanish Fork for over 15 years. When we moved here, we were looking for a quiet and affordable place to raise our growing family. I became familiar with the city when I was hired at the library as a clerk. I began to fall in love with the small town feel as I took my children to the baseball games and their various city events, and it reminded me of the town I grew up in. There is a sense of community and safety that I found in this city. I eventually became a crossing guard working for the police department and served there off and on for over 7 years. For a time, I worked at a local elementary school with the children that qualified as homeless. I made sure those kids had food to eat on the weekends and appropriate clothing to wear when the seasons were changing, even if it meant if I had to pay for it myself. Luckily, there was quite a few resources in town that helped provide for the needs of the students. I got to see how all of the different entities work together to make this community not only a better place, but one people are driven to. I have been a real estate agent for over 5 years and specialize in knowing all that I can about Spanish Fork. I attend meetings, read hours of sometimes very tedious meeting minutes, and ask lots of questions. I never knew the Planning Commission could talk about the diameter of a tree for over 30 minutes. I also volunteer on the board of directors with the Spanish Fork Chamber of Commerce. I've been in that position for 2 years and was just reelected to serve 2 more. Last winter, I was part of the new Rec Center focus group where I was vocal in my needs for transparency, all while trying to understand where the city was coming from. I wanted to make sure the city understood how the Rec Center would affect those in favor of it and those opposed to it. I am a mother of 3 children, ages 19, 17, and 14, and have been married to my high school sweetheart for 22 years. My vision for Spanish Fork, since moving to Spanish Fork in 2007, I've seen it go from a sleepy, quiet town to a bustling hub of shopping and what most people would say is too much traffic. With growth and conveniences comes hassles and sometimes headaches. But a huge draw for many residents to Spanish Fork are the low tax rates. The city can achieve that with more businesses to offset the taxes. I also enjoy the conveniences of shopping in town rather than driving to Provo for my needs. My money is staying in Spanish Fork, and the few minutes of extra traffic is worth it to me. Having said that, we also need to grow responsibly. I understand that most of the main thoroughfares in Spanish Fork are state roads, which we have less control over. I do believe that this city has done a great job with the challenges given to them, trying to appease the residents that want this city to say the small town it once was, all while growing with a purpose. We need to keep the traditions alive like Fiesta Days, Winter Lights Parade, and Food Truck Fridays, no matter how big the city grows. While growth is inevitable, I think the city could enhance how they communicate with residents and keep them informed of projects meant to improve the city. This can be done through various ways, like more social media, billboards, or automated phone calls. Educated citizens help our city become a better place. And why me? So many things set me apart from the other candidates. The first and obvious thing is that I'm a woman. I'm really proud of all these women here that came. It's a scary thing. As a woman, it can be intimidating to fill a role in a male-dominated sector. But having said that, I'm very ambitious, a great multitasker, and I'm not afraid to speak up or have uncomfortable conversations. I feel like we need more representation for women in the community, and I feel I'm up to the task. I have had my hand in many different areas, as I've mentioned before. I have volunteered with community organizations, served on my HOA board, and have been a stay-at-home mom, which was definitely the hardest position I've ever held. Starting my real estate business from scratch as a transplant into Spanish Fork has also been an experience with lots of room for growth. I've stepped up in many ways, and I put myself out there despite all my fears. Another difference between me and some of the candidates is that I wasn't raised in Utah. I grew up in California, where I had many chances to work with people of all diversities and circumstances that were different from mine. Rather than letting those differences become a concern, I love when it becomes a learning experience. People that have different viewpoints than mine allow me to grow and understand the world outside of my viewpoint. We need an assortment of opinions to make this community feel seen and heard. I believe I can do this with a mutual understanding. I believe we can do this with a mutual understanding of respect and kindness to each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Appreciate that. Questions for Shelley?
I have one. You said you're on the Chamber of Commerce Board, and I know you, over the last couple of years, have faced some challenges. How have you guys overcome some of those challenges which you faced?
That's a great question. You know, I think really communicating and being really transparent. I think sometimes those hard conversations obviously are very uncomfortable, but as a Chamber of Commerce, we represent the community, and we need to do what is best for the community, and sometimes that means having those hard conversations about what that looks like for the whole board and the whole chamber.
Thanks, Shelley.
I've got a question for you.
Okay.
So as a city council member, you do a lot of different things with committee assignments and whatnot. What do you think the most important role of a city council member is?
Absolutely, to be, like I said, to see and hear people, to understand where they're coming from, because I think a lot of people, and I for some time when I first moved here didn't feel seen and heard because I wasn't from here. And I think as we see more people coming from outside of Spanish Fork, the growth and things, we need to really see their perspective and really hear what they have to say. And that doesn't mean we're always going to agree, and that's okay, but I think there's a way to approach it and be kind about it and really validate their feelings.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned about the working with the homeless children.
Mm-hmm.
My conversations with some of the school district, it breaks my heart that that's even a subject that we bring up. Where do you think Spanish Fork stands, and do we need to improve that with the homeless?
Absolutely. I had no idea. So they're called McKinney-Vento kids, and my job was to track them, make sure, you know, what was going on. I had 60 kids at one point because we were a Title I school, and so I had no idea. And so when my son started, he did his Eagle Project at the school. We started a food pantry because I saw the need, and I knew these kids were going home every weekend, and I knew they weren't eating because our school gave them free lunches and free breakfast, and that was the food that they would eat. So I was really concerned about them, and so I had my son start his Eagle Project there, and we started a food pantry at the school so that they would go home with food or whatever items they need. So yes, there is a need, and when I reached out to friends and family for donations, people were shocked that there is such a need in town, because I think there is kind of a disconnect between somewhat middle-class wealthy to lower income, and I think we need to really bridge that gap.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You can skip me if you want. You scare me.
No, this is an easy one. So you served on the.
It scares you?
Well, it's coming out. It's only like 1 more inch and it's gone. So you served on the City Rec Center
Focus
Community
group.
Focus Group. And thank you for that. That was great. How did that experience change or impact your opinion of the city, our goals, our objectives? Like, what changed? Or did something change? Or did you find out something different?
Well, I worked really hard to ask Seth about Target, and he was really good at not disclosing Target was coming. So,
It's coming? What the?
Yes.
Okay.
It wasn't then, yes, but I think what I learned from that is I love that the city council and generally the city employees are very approachable. You know, when people come to me because I'm kind of on social media and people know me in town, and they ask me questions, and I always say, you need to go to the city and ask them. Go to the meetings. They're really approachable. Don't be scared of them, you know, and I think people really I really encourage people to get involved in this city, and I love the transparency. I love that you're approachable. I love that I can see you in the store and it's not weird. It's just like, it's like Leave It to Beaver in this town, really. I mean, it is, because you know people, you're familiar with people, it's really comfortable.
He is Leave It to Beaver right there.
Oh, okay.
I'm like,
Not you, sorry.
okay.
Keep going.
Yeah, no, I learned a lot on the focus group. I think that just the transparency, I love that we got the facts, we got some information, and I realize how hard it is to make a decision in the city. You know, it's not an easy thing. You're always going to make someone upset, and that's just the way it is. But there is a way to approach it and be kind about it.
You're the last person, so you're getting questions from everyone. Sorry, it's just the draw. Look at the draw. How do you feel about the result of that decision? Where that committee led, the decision that was made by the council, the direction of the of building a new center down there?
Honestly, I mean, so I came into the focus group. I'm a very open-minded person. Like, I wasn't for or against it. I just kind of wanted to see, you know. And so I think I just, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, well, no, just how do you feel through that process? And again, the decision that ended up happening,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, your group had some bearing there to obviously study centers and try to get this
Yeah.
right and everything else, but it's been mentioned that it doesn't happen without the people's money, that
Sure.
citizens' taxes, our taxes, and a few other resources. So it's not an easy decision. How do you feel the end result to make that choice and result in constructing and building a rec center is?
I personally feel like it's a good decision for me. But as I came into the focus group, I also was familiar with people who are lower income, and I knew that it would be a struggle for them. So I wanted to really ask questions about costs and what does it really look like for people. So for me personally, I'm for the rec center. I think it's a great addition to our city. We need to be smart about it. We need to make sure that it works financially and do everything we can to make it like fiscally responsible.
You are active on social media. I've seen, I follow your reels. They pop up. I don't know. It's because
Sometimes
of-
I find out things from Shelley.
How do you balance?
That's where I found Target was coming.
Do you want me to make an announcement? Because I can on social media.
We'll text you later.
Okay, thanks.
A question based on that, how do you balance, if you were selected here, how would you balance the transparency, the communication to the residents with the, sometimes we're in meetings with companies that are much larger, you know, financially and employee-wise than Spanish Fork City is as a whole. And those decisions, again, aren't made in smoke-filled rooms. We've mentioned the boogeyman that's, you know, you find out if you go through 101 that's not there. But how do you balance that desire, not only on this side, but maybe the desire from the citizenry to hear about something, to find out about some news, with the balance of a private company asking us, hey, we're trying to make deals work, we're trying to land this, we're, you know, maybe real private property is in the transaction as well, and asking us, obviously, as public representatives to hold off and let them do their thing. How would you
Are
balance
you
that?
asking me how do I balance the private versus the public?
Correct.
I do it every day. I'm a real estate agent. So part of my fiduciary duties is confidentiality. So what you tell me stays with me. And it's really really important to me that that stays with me because my reputation is everything. So it would be a hard balance, of course. And it would be public information versus things that are not public. Things that are in agendas and minutes are public information, and things that we talk about that haven't reached that point are confidential. And it's everything to me, my reputation.
Thank you.
I've got another one. We're not done yet. Okay.
You wish you wouldn't have went last.
So Shelley, you are a real estate agent.
Yeah.
You're a very good one.
Thank you.
Home affordability has been talked about tonight.
Mhm.
It's talked about everywhere. What, if anything, can a city council do with the decisions we make to address home affordability?
Well, this has already been mentioned, but I think we definitely, like, people don't want it in their backyard. But I've heard this all here today. I want my children to stay in Spanish Fork, but I don't, people don't want it in their backyard, right? So, but what if your child was in your backyard in a condo or a townhome? So I think we really do need high-density housing because that is the point where most of my first-time home buyers, that's where their step is, You go there, you stay there for a couple of years, you get equity, and you move to the next step. And I think it's, the next kind of phase I'm seeing in real estate is multi-generational housing. So we have mom and dad living in the basement or somewhere, and we have the rest of the family living somewhere. So that's going to probably be the next step in Utah, is having almost like 2 entrances to a house where people can live there together, and that is affordable. And a lot of people are doing that now. The parents will sell their house, the children will sell their house, they'll move in together, so then when mom and dad age, they can take care of them. So I think between high-density housing, multi-generational housing, those are really good stepping stones or solutions to our problems.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thanks.
Appreciate you coming. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. That's the last crossed number on my list of candidates. Thanks again, all of you, for coming here and being here for the duration of it. Very capable. Obviously, it's repetitive a little bit that I think the whole council would say too, but very capable people of filling these seats, of making the decisions up here and serving the residents of Spanish Fork. So we've got a great field to choose from. And now, yes, the awkward table turns to up here. Anything that we need to go through as far as housekeeping items before we start giving you some information? Do you guys need to take a break?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I was reading that in Chad's eyes.
The only thing I would say is if you want to ask any other questions, you certainly have the ability to do that if you want to pull anybody up before you do the ranking. Then the ranking will be the next step. Just a reminder that you'd put them in, you'd choose 3 individuals and put them in rank order 1, 2, and 3. And then when we're ready to do that, we'll put that sheet up there and you can just see it tabulated and whatnot.
Let's just do a couple minute break and think about that. If you want to ask any more questions, you certainly can. Candidates, don't leave, please. You might be asked some more questions. Sorry, there's a sandwich and drinks out there. Make yourself at home. But we'll take a couple minute break and then come back and maybe ask some more questions if we want.
How long do you want us to have any kind of timer, or just when you call?
5 minutes is good.
I don't know, I'm just asking.
Yes. 5 works.
Yep.
5 minutes.
If we're not back, start it over.
Yeah. Thank you.
back and read the resolution. The motion was Shane wears a tie. Shane wore a tie. There was no duration. Those suck. Why would you keep them on? I would rather wear your heels. Absolutely. Bring it on. That's fine with me.
How's your family doing? Pretty soon they're all teenagers.
I ate a whole sandwich. I ate an entire sandwich that fast. That tells you how important food. I ate an entire sandwich in that.
Should switch you and sit on the end since you guys will be the ones voting. You know, I'm just a.
This is such an awesome group. How do you?
Feels really good to have this many. They are good. We gotta.
I move we adjourn for the evening.
You have 29 days.
We have 29 days to do this? Oh, perfect.
Come back in
Can you come back
January.
later?
Think about it over the holidays.
We just talked about, how do you make a decision? And then I'm like bouncing.
We're good? Okay. We are back live with millions of viewers all over the world watching this. The what?
30 million.
30 million. Okay. Special council meeting. Welcome back. Thanks for letting us take that break. we might have some more questions here from the council that they can certainly ask, but before they do that, again, it sounds, it's repetitive because it is, but the Councilman Argyle and I were just discussing the field of candidates, the quality of every one of you getting up here, expressing your vision, your own biography of who you are and where you come from, and I couldn't agree more. That is the strength that makes Spanish Fork what it is. Different ideas, different people coming together and trying to solve problems. So again, as we go to the next phase of this, of narrowing down the candidates and selecting somebody, I can't express it enough, and I know personally you're all competitive enough where you'd feel like, I wasn't this or I wasn't that. I want to tell you really and truthfully that that's not the case. We got one spot that we got to choose, and that's the reality. Every single one of you are capable of being here, but you're capable, and certainly, again, like Seth already mentioned, hopefully available to be used everywhere and anywhere in the city. You've all served already in many different roles in Spanish Fork, and we need you. The citizens need you. There's appointments every single council meeting, it seems, that we're making to different commissions, different boards that really make the secret sauce of the city and make the city function on a daily, weekly, monthly, and annual basis. So if you're not selected, please make sure that we've got your name and number, and we got a bio. You'll get phone calls, you'll get reached out to in a pretty short order to help us out.
Even during hunting season.
Even during hunting season, that's right. That's right. In that fashion, Tara reminded me, if you're here and haven't signed the attendance thing, please do so. It's just a public meeting, just like council meeting, that it's passed around. That if you didn't sign that, make sure to just get that on her desk before you leave and state for the record that you were here in this meeting. So with that, council members, is there any further questions that you wanted to ask any of the candidates that you wanted to do, or did you
I
want
think
to?
I do, just because Angie Murphy came up almost 3 hours ago. I think it would be good to just come up and ask her a question. So, Angie, I just wanted to ask, I know you're a super creative person and think outside the box. As you have thought about serving on council, you and I have talked for probably several years. Do you have any ideas that you would like to see changed or implemented in our community?
Thanks, Stace. I am very creative. I'm a shoosher by choice, which is the art of gift wrapping. So if I could wrap this city up in a big package and keep them safe, I totally would do that. But thanks, Stace, for asking that question. I think what our city has been doing for the last several years, I think, is pretty amazing. And I don't think that we could pinpoint exactly one thing. I think that we've all come together to want the same community feel, and with that, the growth is what we're talking about. As I've been talking about my children that have been married and now trying to, as we've talked about, affordable housing, I do think that this is a concept that we need to talk about, to really see what diversity that we can bring to what that looks like to make all people happy. And I don't think that there's a real good answer to it other than we may have to give and take. And I think that's what makes a good community and a good city is maybe there's not one right answer to everything. And so this positive change needs to be looked at as people giving and taking to make our city grow in the way that it needs to.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, you
Angie.
guys. Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions for any candidates?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why do I say like, yeah?
Yeah, no, that's all right. We're here. We've already.
I want to ask one question to 3 people. And I want specifics. No generalization. Specifically, I've got to ask this question probably 100 times. We have a small town feel. How do you keep it? How do you keep the small town feel in Spanish Fork? Jesse, Megan, Shelley.
Is that order?
Yep.
That small town feel is done in the events that we do. It's been said a lot. The Winter Lights Parade is a great example because it just happened. We had thousands, and I don't know how many people were actually, because there's a lot of people in their cars, but that event is an annual event. It's an event that people come to because they love Spanish Fork. They love the coming together to being with each other in those events. I think that if we look for those events, those are kind of like the pillars: Fiesta Days, the Easter egg hunt, the Winter Lights Parade, the Festival of Lights. That was the word I was looking for. Those things are pillars for our community. Looking for other opportunities to get together is paramount to keeping that community feel. I think that it's hard to say that small town feel when we're as large as we are, but that community is what we have. When you go to Fiesta Days, when you go to the rodeo, you see people that you know, you see people that you interact with all the time, and it's that sense of community that makes Spanish Fork special.
For me, it's about those three key attributes of what we look for. It's the community, it's the culture, and it's family. When you focus on those things, and it is a direct focus for the city council, for this city, and you bring those in and you make those important, then you get those families that want to stay here. You embrace those that are coming, but when you get a population of people that come in and they hold tight to the already established traditions. You make them feel like family. You have those connections. You have those relationships with everybody in the community. That is when you are able to really hold on tight to what those traditions are. You make them want to come in and establish those own traditions themselves. So it is the events. It is, the rodeo. It's the pyro musical. It's even as much as, what we do for Veterans Day or Memorial Day, how we celebrate the harvest. It's just really holding on tight to those and embracing those and having the community that does move in here accept those old-time traditions as well. And being open to new ones. I think that's important too. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan.
Can you repeat the question one more time?
I don't know. Give me some specifics about how to create a sense of community, the small town feel that we have here.
Like was already mentioned, the events are vital, but I really think what makes our town the town that it is the citizens and the residents. And it's the small town, neighbor helping neighbor. When I first moved here, there was some soldier that came home from war, and it was posted to Facebook that we were gonna go on Main Street and bring our flags, and I was like, what is going on? This is amazing. And so we went and we waved our flags, and I just thought, this is where I wanna be, really. This is where I wanna be, because where else do you get that sense of community, So I think it's really the citizens that make a difference. The events bring the citizens together, but really, how many times does something happen and the city steps up? And I've seen it all over social media lately, because there's people that are struggling financially with Christmas or whatever. Someone has passed away, they're having a hard time. And the amount of comments and the amount of people that just step up and say, what do you need? I can help you. I'm your neighbor, I can help you. That's what makes this town so great, and that's why people come here.
Thank you, Shelley. Anything else? Any question?
I think I'm good.
You got your questions answered? You got yours kind of
This is
answered?
the top three who to vote for.
Yeah. So how this is going to work as far as top three, you can see this is going to be tallied. This is randomized too as far as the council order of the first round, and then subsequent rounds, if necessary, will be different. But that was randomized as well. Again, reminding the council that you're going to pick number 1, 2, and 3, and the points will be opposite that, correct? So number 1 is going to get 3 points. Number 2 is going to get 2. So that's not opposite. It matches. And the third one is going to get 1 point. So I'm just making sure you understand that. Because I messed it up last time. If you remember, last time we went through this, I can't remember what I did, but I was like, so,
So you shouldn't have chose Shane in the end?
yeah, maybe, it was maybe a mess up, yeah. I was like, what did I do here? Yeah, but just remember that that's the tally that we're going to do. You're going to have to vocalize that. So, Nick, are you going to awkwardly repeat it like you did that last time too?
Hopefully less awkward than last time.
Okay.
Yes,
It's just
I will
awkward.
repeat it and confirm.
Okay. Seth, anything else?
Just want to say, so this is the vote order. We yesterday used a random number generator and created different vote orders, so it will be a different order if we have to do, well, we have at least 2 votes. And so it'll be a different order for the second vote. If there is a tie in any of the sequences, then we have a couple of different orders. So just, if you'll pay attention to that as well, Mayor, as you're calling for it, the roll calls. This kind of looks like it's the order of how they're sitting, but if you can do the finger math like the mayor was just doing, then you'll notice that Argyle and Beck are out of order. So that's the random. Actually, no, it's not
Yes,
the
we
random.
switched.
We did use the random number generator yesterday. So, anyways, the numbers will, the order will be different for vote number 2 and 3 or 4 as needed.
I know the council is, I'm going to give you guys leeway on what you feel about this. I know they're going to want to say kind of their thanks and everything else again to these candidates. Do you want to do that now? Or do you want to hold off until we've made our selections, or what would you like to do? It's kind of a free will meeting. Usually I'm pretty strict on making a motion and voting, but I'm feeling festive with the Christmas season
I
here.
bet
So
they're just wanting us to get the
Okay.
names out there and not drag it on.
okay, we'll make comments after, but yes. So we're going to start the first round here and call for Councilman Euler's top 3.
First of all, thank you, every one of you, for doing this. And appreciate what you've done, the things that have been said today. So my first choice is Jesse Cardin. My second choice is Landon Took. My third choice is Megan Johnson.
To confirm, Jesse Cardin 1, Landon Took 2, Megan Johnson 3.
Correct.
Great.
Okay, Councilman Marshall, same thing, not same people.
Do what he did?
Do it, yeah, don't do what he did, but yes, rank your top 3.
All right, I'll do that. Again, yeah, thank you for coming. This is much more difficult than I thought when I walked in the room today. I don't know that we can go wrong, so thank you very much.
To the mic, Travis says.
Okay, my first choice is Jesse. My second choice is Megan, and my third choice is Shelley.
Jesse Cardin 1, Megan Johnson 2, Shelley Jameson 3.
Yes.
Great.
Thank you, Councilman Marshall. Councilman Argyle, your top 3.
I'll also express, I told the mayor when we were talking a little quiet that my term will end in a year, and I said maybe I need to resign now and pick one of these awesome people to replace me right now.
Is that how that works?
Yeah, that's not how it works.
I wasn't going to ask for a second.
I've so enjoyed serving and will continue to do so. My choice is Landon Took 1, Megan Johnson 2, Jesse Cardin 3.
Landon Took 1, Megan Johnson 2, Jesse Cardin 3.
Yes.
Great.
Okay, now we go back this way to Councilwoman Beck.
Okay, my number 1 is Jesse Cardin. And my number 2 is Landon. And number 3, Megan Johnson.
Jesse Cardin 1, Landon Took 2, Megan Johnson 3.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So Jesse and Landon, and we'll have a final vote. Those are our top 2 vote getters.
How did we not have a tie?
And
I wanted you to break something.
I know. You
we'll
wanted
use this order, Mayor.
this order next. Vaughn, we have the ability, if we wanted to ask those two candidates that are advancing additional questions, anything like that? Okay. So, council, feel free to ask questions if you'd like, or not, if you've got the answers you've needed, the research that you've needed. You can let me know and I can call for a vote.
I do have a question.
You have a question?
Are we ready to go to that point? And in what order are we going?
There's your order right there.
For voting?
Landon first and Jesse second? Is that
Oh,
what I'm saying?
in question order?
That's the
Yes.
same ballot order if you'd like.
Question order, yeah. Who answers the questions first?
Yeah, that's the ballot order, that's
The
up
ballot
to,
order,
but it's up to you. Yeah, you can call them up however you want.
He doesn't have to follow the ballot order. You can just ask.
Jesse, you're closest. We'll have you first and then Landon second. So, city council is a great experience, great opportunity to serve our community. Between council meetings, committee assignments, reading the paperwork prior to meetings, going to events, there are lots of opportunities, lots of time commitments as well. Tell me about your availability and flexibility, and how will you fulfill your committee assignments and the responsibilities you have to the community as a council member?
Thank you. So my job, like I work from home with a startup company now, and so that gives me a lot of availability for a lot of events. I've been doing that. Some of the things that you talked about with Planning Commission and with the Chamber of Commerce currently, I'm currently still serving in leadership on the Chamber of Commerce, and then also we have Planning Commission. That's only once a month, and there's no committee assignments, so that's obviously very different. There's gonna be a lot of meetings, and it takes planning. Most of you know that I have triplets, and so my life as a parent, they're older now, but as a child, as they were infants, we had to plan. We had to be very specific about how we planned those things. And I think that this is similar, obviously very different, but you have to be able to plan and make sure that you're fulfilling the assignments that you're doing. As I've been a part of the city or as a part of these meetings, something that's vital are the things that don't happen in this room. Brandon loved garbage, and not everybody loves garbage, but it's so important that we have somebody like that representing us at those meetings who is going to care and make sure that those responsibilities are done correctly. So in full, it's, yes, I have the time, I have the availability, my employer already knows of my desire and intent for city council, and so those things have been discussed.
Thank you.
Anything else there, or do you want me to sit down?
That's good, thank you.
Jesse?
You want me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
So, serving on the city council gives you opportunities to do many things, such as council meetings, events, committee assignments. We have to read and prepare for those meetings. So tell me a little bit about your availability and flexibility, and how will you fulfill your committee assignments and the responsibilities you have to the community as a council member?
Okay, thank you, Councilman Euler. That's an excellent question, and thank you for inviting me back. That's an important question too, and I've been preparing for quite a long time now for this opportunity, whether it came now early with Councilman Gordon exiting in the commissioner role, or hopefully next year with campaigning again. I've saved all my signs. I'm ready to campaign again, and so I've been making decisions accordingly. One I mentioned earlier this evening was stepping down from my duties on the Miss Utah Executive Board. That was really busy. It was wonderful. I loved it. An amazing capacity, but I definitely knew that in order to do something like this, I had to, free up the time. And so I've stepped down from that. That was a big one. So that alone would make a significant difference. Also, my work at BYU is very flexible and grateful. I've been there 15 years. They work with me. They're aware of what I'm doing. They're in the know. and supportive, and for that I'm grateful too, because I realize you have to go, get to go to ribbon cuttings and different events and prepare for meetings, like you said. And so I understand it's a massive time commitment, and I'm ready for that. And it's a lot, and I think a lot of people aren't. But I very much can promise you that I am prepared for it, and also the good news is that the Santa Claus season's almost over in 11 days, so I've become extra available then. But as far as, and Jesse touched on this, but the boards and commissions, just want to touch briefly on that because I know that's a big part of each of your responsibilities on council. So I've spent a lot of time looking at them. I know the 5 boards and commissions that Councilman Gordon was on, all exciting. Just a couple that, because I would serve anywhere, in any capacity, any board or commission that I was, asked to serve the city on. Just a couple that interested me. Rotary, Fiesta Days, Miss Spanish Fork, Chamber of Commerce. I mention those just because I'm excited. I'm excited to serve. I'm ready for it. Again, I've prepared for this potential opportunity, grateful for it, and yes, I will make the time and make it a priority. So,
Thank you.
Thanks, Landon.
Thank you, Landon. Any other questions for?
I feel like that was directed at me.
That was exactly my question as well.
That was a good question. Good.
I have a question.
Yep.
Landon, go first. Give me both sides of the argument for and against the rec center. I don't want to know your position.
Sure.
I just want to hear both sides, and then what information you would need in order to make that decision.
Thank you, Shane. When you say both sides, I just want to make sure I understand what you're asking.
To build it or not to build it, to tax or not to tax.
Okay. This is a big question, kind of loaded in a good way, because there's so much I could
Super
say.
loaded.
We've spent so many months working on this. My goodness. So obviously a big concern, a lot of the folks with concerns took those, they think back to the Life Center years prior, and all of the drama that ensued, and how the taxes would have been, the sales tax increase would have been so much higher. So a lot of it was just informing everyone this go around how different it was, right? Yes, there's the RAP tax, and there will be a sales tax increase, but there's other ways that we're going to pay for this, right? Seth lays it out best. Every time he talks about it, like, gives me the chills. Potential, I know, I'm kind of weird, but
Don't say that.
He gives me the chills all the time.
makes so
as
much
well.
sense. No, it's good. A bond from Nebo School District. I have it all written down on a spreadsheet. So I think that's where a lot of the issue lies, is citizens just not knowing this go around how it came together, how much better it was, how little your monthly sales tax is going to increase, and how amazing this rec center / pools / senior center is going to be in just changing and benefiting the lives of so many people in Spanish Fork. And so I think that's where the concern lied with most residents, and I've loved supporting this. And when the referendum came out, I was very much against it, because I know what this means, what this rec center will do. This is a game changer for Spanish Fork, and once you understand the details and how it is feasible and how it is fiscally smart, and all of the above, it's just all positive. It makes sense. I see your vision. I see why you support it. I see why, you're passionate, why you just moved on it. And I've loved learning, educating myself, educating others, becoming more informed, and I'm just a huge supporter of it. I'm excited for it, and really excited to see the lives that it will change. Like yours with baseball and mine with football. I'm there with you. So.
Thank you, Landon.
Need me to repeat it? No. Good, because I don't remember it.
I appreciate you asking the question the way that you did, because I think that as a city council, you have to look at both sides of the issue. So I'm going to go with the for first and then the against second, just so you can hear my train of thought. So the for, we've talked about, it's a place to gather. We lost a swimming pool, and as running for city council last year, lots of people were upset that the pool was leaving, so they want a pool. our senior citizen center is getting older and needs to be updated. We have a very active senior citizen clientele, with lack of better words, and they need somewhere to gather. There's been talk in conversations about the size of the pool, the outdoor pool that we had before, and it not being big enough for competition pool and for our swim teams and different things like that. So there's a lot of reasons why we've talked about the community feel during this meeting. A rec center is a place where community comes together, where they can be together to play some pickup basketball or pickleball inside during the winter, right? So there's a lot of those reasons for it. Also, again, our community is growing. A rec center at some point makes a lot of sense. Now, the against it has to do very heavily against property tax. Property tax is something that a lot of people, especially with fixed incomes, as we heard in the Truth and Taxation meetings, that they have a hard time with. They have a hard time when those raises happen, and that it's going to affect their bottom line or their day-to-day. The other big against it that I've heard was the timing. Was now the right time? Was it something that should have went to the citizens? Those are the reasons for it. Obviously, we've talked about the referendum process and that being something that's available to anybody that doesn't agree with a decision that's made. So that kind of gives you kind of maybe some of the I think the bigger reasons for and against it. Anything else there?
What pieces of information would you need to make that decision if you were sitting up here?
So not being completely privy to everything that came out of the rec center group, I think that information would be vital to that conversation. So what were those conversations like? They went and toured a whole bunch of different places. They had a lot of conversations with Seth and staff and Dell and just different people, right, about what was needed there. I think that information would be needed. I also think listening to the concerns that were coming in as the tax increase was happening, you probably got lots of emails, lots of conversations, both for and against it. We saw that again in the Truth and Taxation meeting. You need that information to be able to make an educated decision, because as city council members, you aren't just representing a neighborhood or even a side of the city. You represent the citizens and the future citizens of Spanish Fork. And so it's important that you're looking at it as a big picture. So I think that those things are vital to making decisions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Anything else? Any other questions for Mr. Took or Mr. Carden? No?
I'm ready.
Okay.
You ready?
Shane's going to be ready right when.
I gotta go last.
Oh, you get to go last, okay. Who gets to go first? Councilman Argyle. This order's Councilman Argyle, Councilman Euler, Councilwoman Beck, and Councilman Marshall. Councilman Argyle is going to rank 1 and 2. No,
We're picking one.
That's where I messed up last time too. As I said, 1 and 2. Like there's gonna you need to say who's 2. You just need to say who's 1.
that wouldn't be. And I will just put a 1 in the column and the total votes will calculate right here.
Okay.
Will you awkwardly read it back to us
I
again?
will not this time.
Okay.
If I get it wrong, stop me.
Okay. Councilman Argyle.
Landon Took.
Councilman Euler.
Jesse Carden.
Councilwoman Beck.
Jesse Carden.
And Councilman Marshall.
Jesse Carden.
Okay. There you go. Congratulations, Jesse Carden. Anything council would like to comment on before we wrap it up and send people home to their families?
We need a resolution as well. Vote on the resolution.
Oh, yeah, let's do that first. The resolution, we got a one-item agenda that is a resolution to fill a vacant city council seat. And I would entertain a motion to approve that appointment to city council.
So moved. Okay.
Okay.
Motion to approve Jesse Cardon as our new council member?
Okay.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Argyle, seconded by Councilman Marshall. This is a roll call vote. Councilman Argyle?
Yes.
And Councilman Euler?
Yes.
And Councilman Marshall?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Beck?
Yes.
That's approved. Now, congratulations, Jesse Carter. Now that's
Congratulations.
official. Okay, comments, Chad, you were going to say something?
Just a quick, thank you. It's not easy, as I mentioned before, to get up there. What an awesome bunch of group, and Mayor said, please stay involved with our community. You've all mentioned that's what keeps us. I grew up in this town. I know what that small feeling is. My parents owned a store, and we knew everybody in town. That was a small feeling. We still have that. I don't know everybody of the 47,000 anymore, but I've had an opportunity to serve this community and take that opportunity to be involved, and many of you are so involved, and that's great. I'm grateful for that. That's what this town is about. We've never had to hire people to do some of these great events that we have. We have more volunteers show up and help, and that needs to continue. And I don't remember whom somebody mentioned. I think it was Mark Warner mentioned about teaching your children that this is important to volunteer in this community and be a part of that. Thank you for being here and being a part of that. I know it wasn't easy. I assure you this wasn't easy to do this last down to one, but I'm looking forward to serving with Jesse and seeing the rest of you in these councils and Seth at the whiteboard. That'll be the great thing.
Thank you, Councilman Argyle. Councilwoman Beck.
A couple things. I've campaigned twice, and both times there were 4 of us. You scare me for this summer if I choose to run again. You guys are smart, you're brilliant, you're articulate, your communication skills, your backgrounds, your service. So impressed. Thank you. I already know 5 names rose right to the top of, I'll text Mayor later and say, hey, what about this lady or this guy for the next board? Or this is really, really cool. I'm so excited. Also, all you women that came, I'm so excited. As the names came in for women, I want to see more diversity up here, and I know these guys have. I have loved my opportunity to serve, and it's just it's incredible. So I'm so glad that each one of you, especially you women out there, were brave enough to step up, because it is truly one of the most courageous things I've ever done, as I'm sure it is for you. Jesse, welcome to City Council. It's going to be great. You have a lot of experience, and that is why I voted for you. Your service, your expertise, your serving on the Planning and Commission means a lot. I think that goes without saying that our biggest job up here is land use. And I don't know if I realized how big of a job that was when I was elected, and you know that coming in. I think the training, you're already gonna be able to just jump right in and hit the ground running, and that's what I was really looking for as well. So I'm excited to serve with you.
Councilman Marshall.
Again, thanks everyone for coming. It was a pleasure listening. When Stacy said she's run twice and she run against 4 and she won both times, I was the 4th. And I'm like, you weren't scared then. Now you're scared. I don't blame you. I am as well. Yeah, I'm as well. Very, very well done, Jesse. Congratulations. We're looking forward to working with you. And I think, to echo what Stacy said, this is a short-term appointment, and having someone that knows where we're at and can step in and add value immediately, I think was a big, big notch in your favor. You did well tonight, though. You did really, really well. You had a lot of competition, and I think they're all going to hold you accountable to what you said and how you did it tonight. So, but again, stay involved. We have an opening on the Planning Commission. So hopefully it comes from someone in this room. But thank you all again for coming. Thank you for sharing. Stay involved. Make sure you hold us accountable to whatever we have, whatever we say. I know some of you in the room will. But please continue to do so. It makes us better, and it forces the conversation out in public and to be very transparent. So come, interact, and thank you for coming.
Thank you. Councilman Euler.
First and foremost, Jesse, congratulations. I have served with you on the Planning Commission. I serve with you on the Chamber of Commerce. I've seen your leadership skills, and I have seen you deal with difficult situations and circumstances. And I know that you're capable. I know what you'll bring to the city council. Landon, you'll be here. Keep working hard. Difficult decision to make between two very good friends. I love you, respect you. You're a great person. I have been exactly where you are. A year and a half ago, it was Shane and I in the final two. And I can say I know how you feel. It's a tough night. Keep working hard. But congratulations to both of you to making it to the final two, and to all of you for coming tonight and wanting to serve our community. That's such a great thing, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Euler. Jesse, welcome to this council. This council is just some of the best people that I get to work with, and so joining our ranks, you'll find that out if you don't know that already. So excited to see where you can help lift and value your opinion in the many different circumstances that will face us in the coming year. Landon, congratulations and good job. And a good job, again, everybody in this room for putting yourself out there. And Commissioner Gordon made a statement to us last night as we wrapped up and kind of said, geez, thanks for making another awkward meeting, Councilman Gordon. And he said something to the effect of all of us that struck all of us of being thick-skinned, because we were like, geez, we're worried about these people. We like them, we know some of them and everything else. And he says, stop worrying about it. If they don't have thick skin, maybe they're not cut out to be a public servant, because frankly, you just have to be that way. And so I like what Shane said there. Don't think for one second that we haven't developed some of that thick skin up here. You just do. By nature, you just do over time. And so reach out to us, hold us accountable. That's what we're here for, and we are here to answer the citizens, and you guys are some of the best of them. So continue to do that. I've already got a text of, we have a vacancy on the Planning Commission. Our chairman of the, right? You're the chair right now? Many nights and hours and how many years you've served on our Planning Commission now? Are you 2 years? So years of service in our Planning Commission. We've got some great candidates to fill that role, and from this room, I think that's where that will come from. But again, that's not the only board, that's not the only commission that we need help on. We've got a lot of different places in the city that we need you. And so please answer the phone call. I've sent you all a text, so you have my number now. Save it, and please don't respond with
Block it.
Yeah, don't block it. No, don't block it. It's not going to be that bad of a thing. It's just going to be more involved in your city, and you guys are obviously, guys and girls are obviously willing to do that. So we need you. So thank you. Seth, anything else before we wrap this up?
Is it all right if I say something briefly?
Sure.
About 5 hours ago, Nick and I were going through some last-minute logistical preparations, reviewing, just the different scenarios and how the spreadsheet works, et cetera. And he noticed I was pacing back and forth in my office, and I just came to recognize this is really nerve-wracking, and you consider what you're doing tonight and some of the unknowns of who and what and whatnot. But I want to tell you that feeling of uneasiness went away about 25, 30 minutes into the meeting, as I just started to feel like, wow, these guys are amazing. And it continued for 3 hours as each one of you got up. And as staff members, we aren't bound by some of the rules that they are, and so we can talk. And each one of these over here, I won't speak for Tara, she's over there, but I didn't get Tara's thoughts, but just we're amazed and so pleased with what we were able to feel and experience out of today. So thank you. And it was a pleasure to get to know each of you better and deeper, and just you all represented yourselves super well. But I appreciate the courage that it took to put your names forward, and appreciate the effort that you put in. So thanks for the
Seth.
opportunity.
We're going to swear Jesse in after we adjourn, or do you want to do it while we're still in the meeting?
We can do it in January as well.
Oh, you can do it in January as well?
You'd
or you can
rather?
do-
We can do it in January.
Let's do it in January, and then they can.
Yeah, we can make it. Yeah.
Are they already in the car on their way? Okay.
They just said I can't pull a Shane and do it without.
Oh.
It's called a Shane now. That's called a Shane.
I'm
Yep.
glad I'm something.
Well, before I motion to adjourn, this quote I read was when we were eulogizing Brandon Gordon last night. He's not dead, he's just elected to a different office, but it stood out. Yeah, there you go. The best teams are made up of a bunch of nobodies who love everybody and serve anybody and don't care about becoming a somebody. And that's true of the people in this room, that's true of this team up here. And so keep that in mind as we have you serving on the individual boards that we're going to ask you to serve on now, because it's certainly what we need
We need some great people, and we have them.
and we have them. So, thank you guys again. Thank you for your time and willingness to put yourself out there. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Beck, seconded by Councilman Argyle to adjourn. A roll call vote. Councilman Euler.
Yes.
Councilman Marshall.
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
And Councilman Argyle.
Yes.
We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Thanks.
Make sure we get a new council.